live in three, two, one. What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Still trying to get the timing somewhat consistent, but we're not there. As I have been telling you folks at the beginning of most broadcasts, got a few personal obligations that has indeed been playing games with when we can get on air, but we do miss the 1 o'clock time slot. We will try to make that happen. But let's get on with the program. Got a tale of three different topics that I want to run by you folks. And one of them I actually just came across while the show was in development. And I'll tell you about that one towards the at the end of these two. But here are the topics we're going to be talking about. As you see, the live stream is indeed titled Kamala Harris interview. She's going to be on CNN. If I'm correct, it will be tomorrow. Now, I understand my MAGA side of the house, my beloved MAGA, have no love for CNN. I get it. You don't believe CNN is a righteous network or they're going to ask her any challenging questions. I don't totally disagree with that. CNN is certainly more favorable to the Democrats than Trump. I'm not going to say the Republicans. I'm going to say CNN is more favorable to the Democratic Party than Trump. Under Bush and previous Republican candidates, CNN and ABC and NBC. Now, I'm not going to say MSNBC. MSNBC is a liberal network. They are the opposite of Fox News. They're not trying to be unbiased. MSNBC leans left, but CNN, ABC, NBC, all of these the other networks, they lean in favor of Democrats over Trump, not over Republicans in general. And the reason why I'm going to say that is because Trump has attacked a lot of networks. Trump has attacked a lot of personalities on these networks, the Lester Hoax, the George Stephanopoulos types. Trump has literally got into spats with folks who work at these networks. So Chris Cuomo's another, Don Lemon's another. So that can lead to its own issues in itself. So I do believe that these networks do not favor Trump, but I don't think the problem would be as exaggerated if it was another Republican. Like for instance, if it was Nikki Haley versus Kamala Harris, I don't believe it would be as pronounced. I think it's because of Trump himself, because as folks say, he likes to fight back. And, even if he wins the fight, if you like to fight, even if you win, you rarely leave a fight unscarred. There's consequences to. So what we're going to be talking about though is the fact that Nikki Haley is going to be doing an interview on CNN. And what I want to ask are two questions in regards to that interview. This is all within the first topic, folks. We got three topics. This is all within the first topic. First question is, what would you like to see thrown at her? Let's say CNN does not ask the tough questions. Let's say MAGA is correct in suggesting they don't answer the tough questions. What would you like to see them ask her? Maybe she's been hiding from something. Maybe she don't want to state a policy on one particular issue. Let's say, for instance, the issue in Israel with the Palestinians in Gaza. Maybe she doesn't want to touch that because that could be a hot button issue. What would you like to see them ask her? And the secondary question within this same topic is there anything she could say to sway your opinion in November? You got two choices. Thing at all that Kamala Harris could say to sway your opinion on who you're likely to vote for right now. You haven't seen her do an interview, not a single one yet. So knowing that she has an interview coming up, is there anything at all she could say to sway your opinion on this CNN interview? So we're going to be talking about that. Second question, second topic, is Jack Smith, is he wasting his time? Now, we know President Trump has just been indicted yet again yesterday. The fact that a former president was indicted and it's minuscule news just it's crazy. I mean, the guy's obviously been indicted a bunch of times, so one more indictment. This is something that would have been breaking news on all the networks and been talked about all day normally. maybe 5 years ago. But we are talking about President Trump. It's a new day and age in the news. But do you believe Jack Smith is wasting his time? And the subtopics on that will be now, President Trump is due to be sentenced for the Alvin Bragg case on September 18th. Do you believe Trump will ultimately ever do any jail time at all? Now, I know a lot of folks believe it was a witch hunt. Fair enough. But do you think Trump is going to face any real consequences for any of this stuff? Or, as I stated, is Jack Smith simply wasting his time? What's the purpose of indicting someone if there is nothing at the end of the indictment? He's either found guilty or he's found guilty and he walks. What's the purpose of indicting him? So we're going to be asking that also. And last but not least, and by the way, in regards to that indictment, does it make any difference for you in terms of your voting choices? Does it make any difference in America? Whether Trump is indicted, whether he's found guilty or not, whether he does time, even if he does time, many are going to suggest they're still likely to vote for him. So what is the purpose of indicting this man? If it means absolutely nothing to anyone and he's not going to face any significant punishment, what is the purpose of indicting him to begin with? So we're going to ask that. And last but not least, and I want to bring this third topic up simply because I just happened to see it on the cable news networks while I was comprising the topics of this show. President Trump, obviously somebody tried to take his life. Moo! Yeah! Appreciate the hat and mustache. Good to see you, Moo. We all know someone tried to take the life of the former president several weeks ago. He's blaming that hit on both Biden and Kamala Harris. Wow. So, third topic just came up. I want to hear from you folks. Do you believe President Biden, it's hard for me to say this. Do you believe President Biden and or Vice President Harris have anything to do with someone trying to take former President Trump's life? Because he is stating that they are the reason why it happened. Wow. Hard to say that, but those are the topics. We're going to begin the program. You know how we run this. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone. We have always been MAGA friendly. We always will be MAGA friendly. Liberals are welcome on the program as well, but MAGA always will remain our preferred guest. I just lost my damn show notes. I got to get this. Oh, there we go. All right, so we got left the Bernie Sanders from having to do with QAnon. Everybody gets to speak. So moving on with the program, they should sue him for defamation of court character, says Archangel. I kind of see your point. I mean, he's blaming him for a hit job. At the very least, he should have to show proof why he is suggesting that they had something to do with somebody trying to take a hit out in his life. He should have to answer for that. Nana Gent on YouTube says his own shot at him. The kid didn't know he would be shot. Really? you aim a firearm at the president or former president of the United States, or you aim a firearm at anybody that has Secret Service protection. You didn't know you would be shot? You got to be kidding me. Let me go back to the box. Alter Ego. Thank you. Thank you for starting it out right. Moo, the tuxedo cat. Good evening, Moo. What's up? Good to have you back on, man.
Oh, yeah, man. It's good to see you. How you doing?
Absolutely, please. I'm doing good. So Kamala Harris is going to be on CNN. First question right off the bat is that the right network? Folks are suggesting that network is in the tank for the liberals. They're not going to ask her any tough questions.
I think at this point, she needs to entertain the left. You know what I mean? Because you're not going to pull the MAGA voters. And we're not worried about the MAGA voters. You know what I mean? People that are voting for Trump at this point are voting for an adjudicated rapist, a guy that committed an insurrection, allegedly assaulted a 13-year-old.
I thought it was a peaceful protest. Go peacefully and patriotic.
The thing is right, and it's not even the insurrection that's the biggest part, right? Because what people fail to do is the insurrection was only a distraction from the fake elector scheme, right? That's the meat and potatoes of the whole thing,
Wow.
is the fake electors that Trump got to go to the states where he was having supposed voter fraud, right? And overturn the election, right? That's the insurrection is just a bunch of pawns, a bunch of suckers and losers, right? Who got conned by Trump into creating a distraction so that he could run the gambit of his fake elector scheme.
Well, I hear that Trump is going to be commemorating January 6th soon.
Well, I mean, that's the day that he thought he would overthrow an election. I'm sure it sticks in his craw because he doesn't like to lose, right? Trump probably hates losing more than anything, I think.
Well, I think nothing wrong with being competitive. I think we all hate losing. Tammy
Well, it's
Green,
not about
thank you.
competitive, right? You're not competitive when you're being fascist, right? Because when you're doing see, you're taking it way too lightly, just like everybody else does, right? You fail to have conviction. This man is a traitor. He committed an insurrection as a distraction to overthrow the election with fake electors. So it's not what you're saying. It's called fascism. So you need to have a little more conviction when you talk about this situation.
Now, Moo, I got to push back and say we had Trump in office for 4 years. I didn't hear anybody suggesting that he was a fascist. He's been president already.
Yeah, I know. You didn't hear anybody suggesting he was a fascist because at the time, right, he only blackmailed the president of Ukraine, the election interference with Russia. I mean, a total ban on Muslims, right? Taking us out of the Iran deal, moving the embassy to Jerusalem because he was bribed by the Adelson family.
I think some of that.
Fascist yet, just a terrible president, you know what I mean? So he hadn't crossed that line yet, right?
I think you might be piling on. You said the election interference with Russia. Where is the evidence that Trump engaged in election interference with Russia?
Well, from what I know, that Mueller said that he did, and he left it up to Congress to execute on that, and they chose not to. So
I'm under the impression that Mueller got on television and said, I can't exonerate him. However, I can't say he's guilty. He said if I could get him, I would get him. I don't know if
he had to leave it up to, which was a cowardly move on his part, right? He didn't need to do that. He could have gone after Trump. That's bullshit. He could have set the precedent that you can go after a sitting president, right? But instead, he decided to leave it up to Congress and follow a precedent that doesn't exist.
I don't know. So in other words, so obviously, I tend to agree with you. Her interview on CNN is not going to sway any hearts and minds of any significance.
Listen, what I'm worried about is her running a winning campaign, and this is the best campaign the Democrats have ever run in the history of that party. Yeah, this is the best.
You gotta be kidding me.
Listen to me. They went from a lame candidate, right? A guy who you shouldn't even be running, right? And now they're ahead in most battleground states by 4 to 5 points, and some national polls show them ahead as much as 7 points, my dude. And if you look at Open Secrets, Kamala Harris has 9% more in individual campaign donations than Trump does. She has more voters.
Where you get these?
She has more voters than him.
Who's the source of your polls? Liberal University? Where are you getting this from?
Hang on. There was one that came out yesterday that said that nationally she was ahead by 7 points. I'll look up the name of the poll. Hang on.
Yeah, 7 points. Wow, that's obviously beyond the margin of error if she's up that front.
That's what I'm saying, my dude. All people really care about on the left is that she's running a winning campaign. We don't care. You have to understand something, right? Democrats, independents, progressives on the left, we're not worried about what MAGA says about her campaign. We don't give a shit. That's all entertainment for them. We don't care at all at what they're saying. You need to understand that. They're worried about she's not doing an interview. No, we don't care. She's doing rallies. She's saying her policies at her rallies. She's saying her points of view at her rallies. And MAGA's not going to watch her rallies because they're MAGA.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. Nobody on the left, none of her voters, not a single one, is worried about what MAGA thinks about her campaign.
Well, and I don't disagree with that. I don't believe that MAGA's going to sit around. Now, this interview they will watch because you can pick it apart. But I agree. Just like the right is not watching.
By 7 points in poll, there's a report from
For some reason, they took the live down. For you folks on YouTube, bear with me. I don't know what happened. Apparently, someone didn't like something So they claim it was misinformation, but the guy, even if you believe his polls were incorrect, there was no reason for that. Sometimes we do get haters. Generally, the censorship folks, in my opinion, are on the left. They want to censor programs, but it absolutely happens from the right because obviously Moo is a progressive. The only people that would want to go after him would lean right. So there are folks on the right that do it as well. I will file an appeal. Most likely we'll win that one. But what I'll do in the meantime is simply restart the live on the backup page. That was insane. Stick the ruler. I do see you in the comments on YouTube. By the way, give me a second, folks. And the question we're asking is, with Kamala Harris on CNN, do you think that she picked a network that might be too soft? And what questions would you like to ask her? And is Jack Smith wasting his damn time pursuing Trump, where there's likely not going to be much to come out of it? So we will go ahead and just simply start the live back up on TikTok. So we are going to wait for a few folks to filter in, but while I'm doing that, I will tackle some of the comments on YouTube. There was a lot of MAGA in here today. Alter ego, that's what we want. I enjoy speaking with MAGA. I like that. Listen, they're not going to agree, but I am a big fan of free speech. The 7 point nationally was last week, not yesterday. Yesterday ranged from 1 point, saying Trump was ahead by one, to Harris being ahead by 1 to 3. Big difference, Ruan Shah. If that's the case, then what you're saying is Moo's information is old, outdated. That Kamala Harris is not doing anywhere near a 7 point lead on Trump. I'd have to see. And by the way, Moo hit the live with so much misinformation, says Anthony Hawkins. How? How? Anthony Hawkins in the comments. Okay, he stated that Kamala Harris was up by 7 points in the poll. If you disagree with that, we can certainly discuss that. But he wasn't on long enough to quote unquote hit it with so much information. What else did he say that was so that you would qualify as being? I don't look, folks. If it's difficult sometimes, I'm talking to my mag on YouTube as well. It can be difficult when so many folks want things censored, and that is on the right and left. Because my last guest, as I stated, was indeed progressive. So there's no way in hell that should have happened. Hey, what it do, handsome liberal? How's your day? Appreciate that, Roland. We're starting off the live. That was messed up. Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but hopefully he comes over on this side. We'll go straight to the box. Stick the ruler. Good evening. Welcome to the program, Stick.
Hey, how you doing, Tim?
Man, I'm a little disgruntled at what just happened there, but
yeah, but Moo was cooking, and that's why it happened. Moo was cooking. He said exactly what MAGA did not want to hear, and even though you have that hat up there, they don't care. When they hear something they don't want to hear, they go all out.
But how the hell can we keep America great if even MAGA is engaging in censorship? Make it make sense.
I mean, they've been engaging, but the whole thing of it is the only one that doesn't have to abide by the rules is Trump. It's been shown to you time after time that MAGA doesn't care what he does, but cares what everybody else does.
So
they really don't.
So you're suggesting that they're giving Trump some kind of special privilege, or as folks say, a 2-tier system?
Shit, a 5-tier system, goddamn. I mean, when you can get away with the SA, when you can get away with admitting to SA in the sense of grabbing them by the you know what, I mean,
I'm under the impression that was just locker room talk, though.
But you said, I can grab them by the you know who.
He did say it. He did say it.
It's all good. So I'm assuming that's what you do. You had the happy hands where you already knew it was paid for. So, I mean, why wouldn't you be a little anxious because you're that dude on some people that, maybe you had I don't know, some type of, you like them a little bit and you think it's cool because I'm rich. I can do this.
You refer to it as...
Unfortunately, but fortunately.
You refer to it as quote unquote happy hands. By the way, folks, tap the screen. Get the likes up to 10,000. We're on the backup page. We're going to try to make it work here. So let me ask you this. In regards to Jack Smith just yesterday filing yet another indictment going after Trump, is he wasting his time? Is there any type of accomplishment, any light at the end of the tunnel? Why is he doing this?
He's doing it because he's trying to show people that America is just. America is fair. America doesn't just let the rich people get off. It doesn't matter that you're a president who wants to be a king. I am the government or I am the person that knows the law. My dude, you have broken the law. You deserve to go to jail. That's all it is.
You really want to put a dude that's nearly 80 years old behind bars?
They put Bernie Madoff in jail.
And Bernie Madoff, I don't know. There are folks who would suggest that what Trump was found guilty of in New York under the Alvin Bragg case, that there are no victims in that crime. What say you?
Well, tell that to the taxpayers that, he basically bamboozled. All those New Yorkers that their taxes may have been raised because he didn't pay his fair share, because he made it high on one end and then made it low on the other, just to benefit him. Again, just to benefit him.
Well, half of those taxpayers probably would say leave him alone because they support him.
Well, no, the people that he owes the money to, they're not supporting him. The banks that he basically skated on fraud, they're not supporting him. They won't even give him another loan. Remember, he's going outside of the United States to get money now. So it's just one of those situations where it's right in front of you. Only you just have to be MAGA. You have to put your blinders on, and you have to run into the wall full speed. And have a what do they call it? A concussion.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So let me ask it to you this way. Do you think, okay, let's say for instance that this wild, and I think it's a wild outlandish idea. I don't think Trump's going to do jail time, but let's say for instance you're correct and he does. Do you think America will accept that? Do you think there could be pockets of violence and some really disgruntled Americans if you try to put a former president behind bars?
I do believe that you do have the extremists that will go that far. I don't know how many it is. So far, I don't know how many people during January 6th were prosecuted, but I know it's at least up to like 700. So with that being said, you're looking at least that same probably amount of people that whoever and or the number that was at January 6th and the people that actually broke the law during January 6th, I would double that. So I would say 1,400 people will probably be off the chain with it.
Wow. I'm under the impression that even if for some reason you do try to lock him up or something like that, he still could easily win because his supporters are going nowhere. I mean, how does it look for America? Is it really worth doing what you're suggesting, which is locking him up, if you know he could end up being president?
Well, the thing of it is, Handsome, like, I don't understand MAGA, but I do understand MAGA. And what I mean by that is this. I understand that they are not going to change for this man. They're not going to vote for anybody else. They're not going to, they have their horse blinders on. They're steadfast, and they understand their assignment, right? So now they're scared because we have our blinders on for Kamala, just like we had our blinders on for Joe.
Wait a minute. If you're going to use the term that the Democrats have their blinders on for Kamala, then that kind of means that from now on, all of this MAGA is in a cult, or you don't see anything. You're admitting that the Democrats have their blinders on. So that means you can't criticize Trump supporters in any way, fashion, or form like that anymore. Otherwise, it's hypocrisy with it.
Well, yes, I can, because one is a fascist / a racist slash essayer.
Damn.
And the other one's a prosecutor, a black woman that doesn't have a record, that hasn't committed fraud on anybody, that hasn't talked bad about veterans, and the list goes on. And then on policy, which everybody's talking about, she doesn't have any. I'm just going to be honest with you. Her policy, 9 times out of 10, is going to be Joe Biden with a touch of Barack Obama, with a bigger touch of Kamala. So at the end of the day, it's going to have a new twist on it, because Barack is the older president, so he's the past.
Wait a minute. If she's going to be so similar to Joe Biden and Barack Obama, then why the hell is she starting to sound like Trump on the border, talking about getting rid of fentanyl? She sounds like she's starting to realize, just like Joe Biden did, that maybe Trump's policies on the border were a bit better than what they're promoting. I don't know. I think I hear her kind of switching there, Stick.
I don't hear her switching. What I hear her doing is, listen, I hear you. You want something done at the border. Now, as vice president, I was in the back, and while I'm saying this, let me put this out here too. On this, she's not qualified. Do y'all not realize, and I'm speaking to MAGA and anybody else that's doubting her, that if anything was to happen to Joe right now, she could become the president right now.
That is true.
That's her job. That's her job. Why would he pick somebody that wouldn't be ready, just in case? I'm an old man. Joe is an old man. He's honest about it. I'm an old man. I know at any moment I could check out of here. Why wouldn't I have somebody that's ready?
Yeah. Well, I don't.
Let's stop the rhetoric with she isn't qualified, because we damn know who she is. And let's stop talking about she's not ready to be the commander in chief, because she's one step away.
Yeah. Well, they're going to. Some folks are suggesting that, and I see in the comments on YouTube that, but it says C-Max was saying Kamala Harris was appointed. At least Joe was elected, suggesting that somehow Kamala Harris rose to the top by way of a coup.
Before it was Joe in the sense of Biden-Harris ticket. It wasn't just the Joe ticket. Now, she's had her ticket and got a whole bunch of people riled up when it was just her. Now she has Mr. Waltz, and everybody's fired up. So I get it. They're hating right now, and that's understandable, because their guy, only reason he's in there and only reason he's even on TV is because we keep showing where he keeps putting his foot in his mouth. He just keeps putting his foot in his mouth. I mean, the other day, what was the thing? God, dog, there's so many. But I'm just saying the other day.
All right. I don't think there's. I got to move it on. But I don't think there's anybody that would deny that Trump sometimes says things that gets him in trouble. Even MAGA believes that. But but like I said, Kamala Harris going on CNN. Some folks are a bit suspicious because they don't believe CNN is going to ask her tough questions. I'll give you the last word. I think I do got to move it on.
And I don't like to do whataboutisms, but where y'all saying Kamala is doing some sort of kind of the similar thing on the Trump border, right? And the deal was this. Y'all could have got everything in the deal. Y'all said that y'all didn't want Ukraine and anybody else to get some money. Y'all wanted it all go to the border. But you still voted on a standalone bill that gave Ukraine money, and the border still isn't fixed. So I don't know what they got going on. I just know I understand that y'all got y'all blinders on, and y'all mad at us now because we have our blinders on, in the sense of we know who we need to have in the White House, and we don't need Trump. So that's our blinders, and that's why we have blinders on. And we're not going to let nobody talk us out of it either.
Wow, that's pretty strong conviction. Stick the ruler. Appreciate you coming through.
Yes, sir.
Anytime. Look at in the comments. Trump will be back in office, and that's it. Get over it. And I don't vote because I'm woke to know it. Wait. Listen, I don't vote because in woke to know it never mattered. Bunch of clowns, says Jay Rich. Wow. Trump will be back in office, and that's it. Get over it. That's pretty sure. I don't know. I don't know about that. The polls don't sound as confident as you're stating, Jay Rich. In the comments, you're ignorant. It's about conservative policies, not Trump. All right. Real quick before I go back to the box, and I see in the comments the very strong phrase we often hear, and that is "we not going back." I see that coming from Too Special for You. Real quick before we continue moving on, CNN will give her the question. Wow. Wow, now. Listen. At the end of the day, I know CNN has no love for Trump, and Trump has no love for CNN. But what you're stating is that CNN News Network will provide the Kamala Harris team with the questions they're going to ask before they ask them to give her time to prep. Yeah, C. Osby, appreciate the hat and mustache. Thank you, folks, for their supporting the program. Us having to move to this other screen until the appeal goes through on the other one. So I'm going to ask that you tap the screen on TikTok. We need to get the likes up, certainly to about 15,000 to start the program off to help bring up the numbers. It does bring in more MAGA big trig. Yeah! Thank you for the ad mustache as well. Tap the screen, get the likes up to about 15,000. Same on YouTube, smash that like button. We can certainly do at least 50 with 2 Ds. Tim, how much you want to know? Wait a minute. How much you want to bet? Let me know. I already got a few bets out there now, Jay Rich. I already got a few bets out there now. Those 2 callers were both very dumb and pay attention to nothing. Damn. Stevie D, thank you for that lovely graphic. Continuing on with the program, we will go to Jill Baby 1961. Asking that question, Kamala Harris is on CNN. Will it make a damn bit of difference to any of us out there that plan on voting in November? Jill Baby, good evening. What say you?
Well, why do you think she won't do it with, didn't want to do it with ABC? Because they might have been a little bit harder on her. Okay? Now, she wants to run to her little comfort zone. And you're right. They are going to give her the questions ahead of time. Trump don't get them. He don't need them.
You know, if Jill, do you realize if CNN got caught giving her the questions ahead of time, it would destroy that network? I mean, are they really to the point of literally destroying the credibility of their network just to help Kamala Harris get elected?
Well, hey, it happened with, they found it out when they did it for Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
They don't care. They just blow it over. Oh, okay, well, okay, yeah, we got caught. Oh, well, we won't do it next time. You know? They don't care.
Yeah, that actually, you're actually correct. Donna Brazile, who was working for the CNN.
That's right.
Now she works for ABC, by the way. But let's be clear, Jill. If Kamala Harris did not do this interview on CNN and was doing it on ABC, you kind of got to admit MAGA would still be saying the same thing, that it's a soft network, right?
Well, definitely softer on her. And they would use kid gloves. Oh, heck yeah, softballs, baby.
So where can she go that MAGA would be happy?
You know what I would like to see? Okay, just say say something like, okay, Fox News and ABC. How's that? And then Fox News gets to ask questions, and then ABC gets to ask them both the same questions. The same questions, not her. You know, this one where she's already, not just ask them the same questions.
Well, Jill, putting Kamala Harris out in front of Fox News would be akin to putting Trump in front of MSNBC. Do you think Trump would ever let MSNBC question him?
Probably. You know,
really?
To the point where he don't care. He just wants to get this over with because they're ruining the country. You know, why do y'all think they're trying to take him out? Because they can't beat him. And they got the polls covered this time, buddy. We got some watchers this time. Even though they slipped some through them, there's plenty of videos out there. Well, I stood right down there in Covington and watched them pull handfuls in. Who in the heck? I didn't know what they were doing. I didn't know that was illegal. But they didn't wait in line to go and fill out, the ballot. They went and took all these envelopes and put it in the box that was outside.
So I'm under just to get clarity. Now you and I have spoke before, but just to get clarity for the audience, you do believe Trump won the 2020 election, correct?
Absolutely. Have you watched 2000? Have you watched 2000 Mules? I didn't even have to watch that. And but as soon as they said they were harvest harvest, whatever you should call it,
Ballot harvesting.
and all that crap, and then they was kicking Republicans out and only letting Democrats stay in, and then these trucks pulling up to the back of that place.
But wait a minute. So why do you, if all of this happened, any idea why just about everyone on Trump's, in fact, not just about, actually 100% of Trump's own cabinet, Trump's administration, they all believe he lost? Why is that?
They're worried about their own butt. They're worried about their own careers. And see, do you remember when Trump said, "I'm going after my own party"?
How would your career benefit if Trump won? Hold on, hang on. If Trump won in 2020, how would their career be beneficial by lying and saying he lost? Who on his administration? Let's say Mike Pence. How did it benefit Mike Pence to lie and say he lost if he actually won?
No, because the Democrats would ruin them if he votes. Go with their flow.
Ruin them how?
They know how to put. I'm telling you, if you don't know what's going on behind the scenes with the Democrats, they are so just like what's his name, Jamie Ratkins. He knows. They know Trump's going to win, and he said when they do, we're going to the White House on January 6th, 2025. And Trump, they're going to create a civil war and tell Trump and the MAGA gang or whatever you call this, and so we're going to tell them we're using the 14th Amendment. What is the 14th Amendment, third something, whatever.
So let me interrupt you. Let me interrupt you and ask you this: if you're saying that these folks were more worried about their career, any idea why J.D. Vance is saying Trump lost in 2020?
No, I didn't know he did.
Yeah. So
Trump might have told him just go along with it because if you do, they're just going to come at you either way. You're basically going to lose either way. When it comes to the Democrats, and there are some running Republicans because he said he's found it all. He found it all, and he's trying to get it exposed, but they won't let him. They won't give him a chance to get it out.
Well, then let me present it this way. When you look at the sheer number of Republican politicians, talking about governors, senators, members of Trump administration, when you look at the sheer number of them that are saying Trump lost the election, is it possible that maybe they're all right and the one guy Trump is actually wrong?
No, I don't. I don't believe that. And they knew because I guess Biden was beloved, so they used him. They knew that guy had problems, mental health wise and everything else from the get go, and they still pushed him out there. And they knew this time that they couldn't keep him. They still used him up to a certain point. They're like, "Oh, he's getting crushed. He's getting him out. Get him out now." And Nancy Pelosi admitted it. Now, we had to do what we had to do.
Okay, so
they just got to pull use the 25th Amendment or whatever to get him out.
you talking about to get Biden out?
Yeah, he was getting crushed again, but they see the polls are covered. They know it's going to be so hard for them to pull this crap up again. So they're like, we got to quit. Okay, pull up another charge. Get another charge on Trump. Take his plane down. Hit him at one of his rallies. Get that man gone.
So you do agree with Trump that the Democrats are Biden and Kamala Harris is who he is blaming for the attempted hit on his life. You think he's telling the truth?
Oh my God. They cannot beat that man, and they're going to be exposed. He's got over 50 years to expose on Biden. They're not going down without a fight, hon. I'm telling you.
Okay, he was but Jill, he was president for 4 years. Why didn't he expose them then?
Because did you not see him still trying to fight? And anything he tried to say, the media was covering up. If you had catch some of it that got out, snuck out in the beginning, before they hurried up and swiped it from the internet. It was just
Jill, wait, hold on, Jill. You know he did have his own social media page. The media can't cover up what he's tweeting out. Instead of tweeting out negative things about folks taking a knee or athletes trying to take down Confederate statues, why not tell us the truth on Biden or something if you have this? Why didn't he tell us?
Well, he's got to get others to cooperate too, honey. And they're in his own party. He's got to get them to give me that crap. I want it out to the public. The American people need to know what you all have done to this country for over 50 years. He didn't have to step down, and he had a beautiful life. Did they attack him then? No. Hey, get Trump for our movie. Hey, get Trump. Hey, call Trump to, donate to this or donate to that. Oh, Trump, come to our wedding. You know what I mean? Come on. Right. They were buddies until he found out. Wow.
So what do you?
They're doing this country. I got to do something.
So you said Democrats have ruined the country for the last 50 years. And by the way, folks, tap the screen. Hold on, hang on, Jill. Tap the screen, folks. See if we can get the likes up to about 30,000. We're trying to bring in more folks, particularly MAGA. You know how the program works. Tap the screen. So you're saying the Democrats ruined the country for the last 50 years. You think that Hillary Clinton and... Huh?
He said Republicans did too.
Yeah.
Not just Democrats. Oh, that's why they're both pouncing on him. That's why some that were all scratching his back, to get his campaign. He's like, oh no, I'm exposing you too. Right. Now you gonna stay with me? Oh, you're not. Get the hell out of my.
So in regards to your earlier claim that he actually won in 2020, why did Dominion end up winning so much money from Fox?
Because they own it. They gotta make it look good. Who owns Dominion? Freaking BlackRock. Who owns? And what else does BlackRock own? Part of freaking Fox. They didn't lose shit. They just played that money around a little bit. Make it look like you guys gotta do this so we can get the story out. We ain't gonna die, but we gotta put it out there and make it look good and juicy.
Jill, we're talking about $750 million. You're saying they just moved that around and make it look juicy, as you say?
Yeah, that's right, because they own it. Yeah, they didn't lose their money. They own it, and we're just let it right off. Just pretend.
All right. So I'm assuming you. Now, before I let you go, Jill, you're always an interesting caller. Before I let you go, I got folks that's suggesting that Kamala Harris is up in the polls. Do you think there's any chance at all that Trump may actually lose to her?
Hell no, not fair and square. Who was the first one that lost and was kicked off the stage? Who? With less than 1% of votes.
Yeah, you make it.
Somehow she became vice president. How did that work? Come on, you guys. You're not that blind.
All right, Jill. I gotta move it on, Jill. It's always a pleasure. My door's always open to you.
I love you. You're straight up to the. I love you. I love your lies. You keep it up, honey.
Thank you, Jill. Thank you. You've greatly excited my audience. Come on back anytime. All right, moving on with the program. Now, listen. As I say, we go left of Bernie Sanders, so I'm having dinner with Q. We do believe in free speech. Wow. Sean333 says she lonely. Oh my God. Be kind to the guests, folks. I see Big Unk Ro says, God, you guys are hilarious. That was interesting. Yeah, we try to make it interesting. Fight to stay out of prison. If Marjorie Taylor Greene doesn't calm down, she might lose a tooth going off like that. You guys are mean as hell. Show a bit of love. Tap the screen. Jesus Christ. Get the likes up to about 35. Yeah! Mr. G with the hat and mustache. I want whatever she's on. Left mask off Ozzy. Okay, so the topics we're discussing, if I can get this out with a straight face, you guys are hilarious. Alter ego. Thank you for the hat and mustache. Thank you. I hate that I switched over. I almost want to go back to the main page because there were folks that were on there that probably do not know we're on the backup page. We'll keep it moving. According to Judge Joe Brown, I say that with a chuckle. According to Judge Joe Brown, Kamala was known for doing favors, in quotes, to get where she wanted to be. She's known as Heels Up Harris. This is the woman you want to be your president. Let me make something clear. First of all, getting an opinion about Kamala Harris from Judge Joe Brown is akin to getting an opinion about Trump about from L. Sharpton. Kamala Harris is, or better yet, Joe Brown rather, is deep in the camp for Trump. He is a long-term friend of Trump, has spoken positively of Trump on a number of occasions, has never met Kamala Harris in person. So Judge Joe Brown's opinion of Kamala Harris is of little to no value. I mean, he was a judge out on the East Coast. Kamala Harris was an attorney out on the West Coast. They're literally about a couple thousand miles apart. He has no contact with her other than what he's heard, and he's analyzing her through that. So Judge Joe Brown's opinion of Kamala Harris is essentially irrelevant. But he did say he knows how to recognize a hoe. I posted the video on my page about a month or so ago. He said some really disparaging things about her, said she's an old hoe, and suggested that she was indeed sleeping her way to the top. You guys talk about suing people for defamation. She could probably easily get a settlement out of Judge Joe Brown. I mean, there would not even be a case to be made. He said some really disparaging things about her. He would have no proof of any of that stuff. Okay, she had an affair with a married guy, but you got to prove that she benefited career-wise out of that over and over again, like he said. He wouldn't be able to prove any of that. If she decided to sue him, the first response from his lawyers to her would probably be an offer for some kind of settlement to make it go away. He would have nothing for that. Looking in the comments, hey Tim, what was the tax rate on rich post World War II? I don't quite get what you're discussing there. All right, before I go to the next caller, Tom Cruise is known for doing that. The actor Tom Cruise of Top Gun fame, he's known for suing folks. Like the Inquirer, you don't see many stories about Tom Cruise on there at all. He used to sue the hell out of them. People say all kinds of wild shit about you. Make him prove it. Make him prove it. Sue him. And yeah, when he's saying that Kamala Harris slept her way to the top and did all that stuff, sue him and donate the money to whatever you want to donate it to. But yeah, my opinion is she should sue him. Joe Brown wants a Supreme Court justice appointment. He wouldn't get it because he's too old. Why would you appoint somebody that's that age when you want the legacy of the Republican Party to be around for? I mean, you don't really want to appoint a Supreme Court judge really that's over 60. You want, if you can get one that's in their late 40s, like Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, young people. You don't want to appoint somebody that's way up in age like that. You want them to be around for a while. Continuing on with the program, appreciate you folks that are tapping the screen. Diesel Chicago. Good evening. Welcome to the program. Kamala Harris going on CNN. What do you want him to ask? Do you think CNN will even be fair to her? Diesel. Good evening. What say you?
Good evening, Tim.
Hey,
how you doing?
I'm doing good.
First I want to say, man, you made me get a TikTok account. I've been waiting to talk to you, brother. For like a few months now. You made me get a TikTok account. I was on YouTube looking at you.
Well, let me say this. Hold on, hang on. Do you have Bluetooth or something on? Because I'm hearing a lot of echo. So before we engage in conversation, I don't want to be talking to myself. Do you have Bluetooth or something on?
I turned it off, Tim. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, that's much better.
Okay. I was just saying that you made me get a TikTok account. I was on YouTube watching you, and I was like, I need to talk to Tim. I'm from Chicago too, of course. As you can see.
Okay.
But I enjoy the program, brother. And go ahead, ask me the question. I've been waiting to talk to you.
All right, I'll start by saying that Kamala Harris is on CNN. I guess for someone like yourself from Chicago, does it make one damn bit of a difference that she's on CNN? Like, for instance, is there anything she could say that would either sway your opinion to vote for her or against her, or are you already locked in no matter what comes out of this damn interview?
Well, myself, I'm already locked in on Kamala, from her
from her policies that she's already expressed, I'm already locked in with her. So I just want to really her to hush all of that, the criticism and the things that we do hail from the other side right now about her not wanting to do any interviews and not wanting to ask any questions or answer any questions and things like that. So I just want her to do well so we can kind of hush a lot of that stuff. I know we're still going to hear it, but yeah.
John, thank you for the hat and mustache. How do you respond to folks who say she has no policy at all? You're saying you favor her policies. What policies of Kamala Harris do you favor? What did she promise to do that you're saying, okay, we need to have that done in America?
Well, a few things. I really am in favor of the child tax credit that she's have imposed. Okay. I'm really in favor of the first-time home buyer tax credit that she imposed. I have a 21-year-old daughter, and I have a 2-year-old daughter. So it's like, with her promising to codify Roe if it comes across her desk, things of that nature, and of course, being opposed to giving police immunity.
Yeah.
And people don't understand. We in Chicago, so every time you say that, Tim, I want to ring a bell. You know what I mean? It's like, brother, every time you say that, I'm like, because they didn't grow up in the 90s in Chicago. Yeah. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm very surprised, and this is why I give Trump the win in regards to messaging. The fact that he is promising to give police immunity from prosecution and the liberals ain't plastering that all over TV. When the liberals talked about defunding the police, that's all you heard from the right, holding them accountable for that. Here he is talking about bringing back stop and frisk on video and saying it as well that he would give immunity from prosecution. And you'll be amazed at how many liberals don't even know he said that. I mean,
don't even know he said it. Yeah, no, I agree. It's because he flooded the zone, Tim. Like it's so much that it's like you got to take your pick. But that's
huge though. That is huge.
Yeah, that's a huge thing for me. And that's the thing. It's like, then they follow right up with it with that wasn't what he meant. And then we got to decipher this straight shooter.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I seen the comments on YouTube. 20 to square says police immunity is not on the ballot. True, but why is he? I mean, we just like maybe the Second Amendment won't be on the ballot, but the right would never vote for somebody who's making it clear that they're in favor of repealing the Second Amendment or taking away Second Amendment rights. Whether immunity is on the ballot or not, he's made it clear that he is in favor of stop and frisk and giving police immunity. That really, in my opinion, should kind of be enough. That he made it clear he's in favor of giving police immunity because he does control the federal police officers.
Absolutely, and he has his hand or his thumb on, his foot on the Republican Party's neck. I mean, who is going against him without being primary? You know what I mean? Like, it's really, it's really like disheartening, disingenuous. It's just, to me, when they say these things, it's such like you're so full of it because you know that he controls these people. It's like when they reference, the border bill, he controls these people. Yeah. It's not like nobody knows this. Yeah. But even
he has a lot of power. He has a lot of power.
Yes. But even when you reference the Second Amendment, it's people that think Kamala's coming for their guns. I'm telling you.
I will say this. When it comes to national elections, the left is always going to say that the right is a racist, and the right is always going to say that the left are socialists coming for your guns. It doesn't matter what liberal runs for office. They're going to be accused of coming for the Second Amendment, defunding police, and promoting socialism. It's kind of just a talking point, just like the left has talking points against the right. Now, we've seen Obama in office. Nobody lost any gun rights, even though the price of firearms and equipment shot up like 3 times the price because people actually believed it. But, I mean, same thing when Hillary Clinton was running. They were saying it again. But that's just a talking point.
Yeah, and it's like, they absolutely, they amp it up like, 10 times, 10, 20 times. I've spoken with people and they talk about, I asked them, well, what's the issue? And she's coming from a gun, that's what they say. So I be like, common sense gun laws, I think I think everyone wants that. Again,
I disagree with you. I disagree with you on that. There's plenty of folks who are true believers of shall not be infringed. Keep in mind, you're in Chicago where there's a lot of irresponsible gun use. Somebody out in Wyoming on their own ranch, they don't need those laws. Ain't nobody getting shot in their neighborhood. So most of the areas where people want some type of gun restrictions, or as you say, common sense gun laws, it's in areas where a lot of irresponsible gun use is taking place. But most of America that's not happening. So I disagree with you in regards to you suggesting that everybody wants common sense. There's a lot of people who don't. A lot of people who are fine with shall not be infringed.
I have to agree with you on that. I mean, I may have broadly spoken when I said a lot. I would say sensible people, and I guess that's relative, but I would think sensible people would want common sense gun laws, and but yeah.
It's even, there are people out there who even believe that if you got a domestic violence beef, you shouldn't lose your gun. I mean, that's why it's so difficult, even when a person is clearly mentally ill, to take their. I mean, people don't want any infringement on the Second Amendment. I don't care if the guy doesn't have eyes or hands. He still can legally own a firearm. I mean, people don't want it being infringed upon at all.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and it's a wild thing. It's a wild thing
that's one way of phrasing
like
it.
Said, it's so black and white to some people, you know what I mean? But I think it's a very many shades of gray of it.
Yeah.
But it's like you said, it's so black and white to some people.
Yeah. Like I said too, though, it depends on the area you live in. Like in a neighborhood like Chicago, where everybody's living on top of each other and things like that, irresponsible gun use can cause a lot of problems. But like I said, if you're living on a wide open ranch somewhere, then those problems are not likely to be in your area. So those folks don't want the same laws as Chicago. And when it comes to voting, you're fighting with those type of people. I gotta move it on though. I will give you the last word. Is there anything you want CNN to ask Kamala Harris?
Not in particular. I know that I just want them to, I don't want a whole lot of softball questions. You know what I mean? I just want them to get to some substance. Let her kind of portray her intelligence. Let the American people kind of see the clear contrast, especially these few last interviews I've seen of Trump. It seems like he getting more unhinged. It's like his hairdresser isn't traveling with him or something.
Well, understand. I don't want to sound like the law, but understand, because you said you don't want her being asked softball questions. Understand, any answer to a tough question can and will be used against her. So understand that's the sole purpose of folks demanding she be interviewed.
But I mean, I think she should. I think she. So say it doesn't go well, and I'm gonna let you move on. Of course I'm gonna listen. But say it doesn't go well, I think she should just flood the market. I mean, I think she should just make a clear contrast. I think this should break. This is gonna give her, of course, a boost with her base, but this is just gonna give farther for the right to kind of pick apart. You know what I mean? So. Yeah. Long as she do well, give them the kind of the least talking points as possible. I think it'll be a good night.
All right, fair enough. Appreciate you coming through, Diesel. Come on back anytime, man. Good talk.
You the man. Keep it up. Yeah.
You make me feel special. Thank you. Moving on with the
man for sure.
Appreciate it. Moving on with the program. Why were her or Biden at Arlington? The cemetery? I don't know. Trump doesn't answer anything question. He does answer questions. You may not agree with the answers, but Trump will answer any damn question. Trump doesn't run. He don't mind answering questions. Just some folks might suggest he's not being honest sometimes, or he's ad-libbing, or he's going, away from the conversation, but Trump doesn't run. Trump will go into some pretty tough zones and answer questions. Ed G. Kamala, here's $25,000 for home buyers. Home sellers were 400,000 and 450,000. Kamala, new way forwards. What? I don't quite get what you're trying to say there. New way forward, MAO, new leap forward, Kamala. Communism, China. Okay, Edgy, I'm lost. I mean, I get the fact that you believe Kamala Harris is a communist. I understand that part. Outside of that, I don't understand what you're trying to say. Roberto Tapia in the comments says the Second Amendment is non-negotiable. Before I go to the next call, and by the way, tap the screen, get the likes up to about 50,000. We'll try to make that happen on TikTok. The numbers on TikTok, I don't know why they've remained like this, but tap the screen, get the likes up to about 50,000. In regards to the Second Amendment being non-negotiable, this is why I keep failing to understand. When Trump suggests bringing back stop and frisk to lower crime in Chicago, where are those Second Amendment folks? Because stop and frisk is a violation of your Fourth Amendment rights. When Trump suggests a year in prison for flag burners, anybody caught burning a flag, I'm going to ask again, where are those Second Amendment folks? Because burning the flag is protected by your First Amendment rights. When Trump suggests, I hate starting the sentence off like this, but there's so many of these things. When Trump suggests, if you plead the fifth, you got something to hide. You work for the mob. You have a Fifth Amendment right. Why is he first, fourth, and fifth? Why is it that there's such a huge defense of the Second Amendment, but you're literally listening to other amendments being negotiated right away from you? I mean, he clearly said a flag burner should do a year in prison. That is your First Amendment right just being taken away from you. Clearly talked about bringing back stop and frisk. Fourth Amendment protects you against unwarranted searches and seizures, meaning they should have a warrant before they can search you. Silence from the right. Just literally taking away your Fourth Amendment rights. I have to ask the obvious question. Is the Fourth Amendment better yet, is the Second Amendment the only part of the Bill of Rights you care about? Is it take the rest of them away, as long as they don't take the second? I mean, he's clearly talking about taking away your. By the way, even in regards to the Second Amendment right, we talk about the liberals. The liberals are the ones that's going to take away your rights. Chicago, New York gun laws and things like that. Keep in mind, out of the presidents we've actually had in our lifetime, Trump is really the only one that's actually taken away some of your rights, like banning bump stocks. He talked about you don't need high capacity magazines. He talked about if you're mentally ill, they should take away your gun first and then give you due process. I don't quite get this, because the liberals are the ones that we often bring up in regards to threatening the Second Amendment. But in reality, technically speaking, President Trump is the only one that's actually passed a law that infringed on it. He's the one that actually passed a real law. We can talk about how maybe Obama failed. Remember, Joe Biden talked about you only need a shotgun to blast 2 shots in the air, and people went ballistic talking about you're taking away guns and all of that. He didn't pass any laws, though. Obama, Biden, they didn't pass any laws to take away. Trump actually passed a law to limit your Second Amendment rights. I don't understand why the guy who actually passed the law is getting a pass, and we're going after the people we think there might be a threat to it. Somebody needs to explain that to me. Looking in the comments real quick. Stop being a coward. Talk about why gun violence is so high in Black-owned cities like my home city of Atlanta. Oh, that's a real easy one to respond to. And that's a good question, by the way. Symphonic anarchy? Is that well, the reason gun violence is so high, you call it Black-run cities, but the reason gun violence is so high is because there's people around. Republican cities don't have a lot of people in it. The more people you put in the city, the more chance of conflict. Fact is, Republican cities are not very diverse. Most Republican cities, Christian, you're going to get, they're mostly white. As I said, they're mostly white, they're mostly Christian. They mostly all have the same politics in mind. I mean, there's not as much conflict. When you go to Democratic cities, the ones you're talking about in terms of violence, and somebody says poverty too, but in Democratic cities, there's a lot of different cultures. Diversity avoids the Republican Party like the plague. So Republican cities don't have to deal with diversity. There's a lot of problems that come with diversity. People don't agree. Different religions, like for instance, Republican cities don't have a lot of open LGBT people. You don't have that. You got a lot less issues in your city because there's a lot less diversity. So you're not going to have all of that. I don't care how, let me just say it this way. I don't care how bad Chicago is ran, New York is ran, Los Angeles. I don't care how bad the management of those cities are. They will never seem to touch a Republican politician. That should tell you something. You got plenty of people in Chicago that live there, that's lived their entire life, that don't think that city is ran very well, and they still would never vote for a Republican. That should tell you something. The Republican Party has a problem with diversity. Diverse environments do not like the Republican Party. Out of the top 50 largest cities in America, only 9 of them have Republican mayors. And you got to go pretty far down the list before you come to one. All of the top 10 largest cities, they're all ran by Democrat. They're not perfectly ran cities. Some of them are not even well ran. But for some reason, they won't touch a Republican politician. You need to figure that out. You can blame it on media brainwashing or whatever you want to blame it on. But there is something about the Republican Party that diverse environments don't want to touch. So, and I see in the comments, David Kinzer says that's a cop-out. No, that's a fact. That's a fact that the Republican Party cannot get their hands on diversity. And I'll tell you one other thing, too, before I go back to the box. I say this all the time. It is a lot easier to be a Republican politician than it is to be a liberal politician. Fact is, as a Republican politician, all you have to really do is focus on pleasing straight, white, Christian voters. That's it. Focus on pleasing straight, white, Christian voters, and you tend to do just fine as a Republican. Now, you listen, there are other people, everybody voting for Republicans are not white, are not Christian, or not even straight. But that is overwhelmingly all you really need to focus on if you are a Republican politician. Straight, white, Christian voters. That's it. If you are a Democratic politician, you got to make sure you pay attention to the LGBTs, the Hispanics, the Muslims, the blacks. They all have a say-so in the Democratic Party. They don't have much of a say-so in the Republican Party. They don't, like I said, diversity is just non-existent. So it's real easy to be a Republican Party because you don't have to focus on these groups. It's either you get with what we're promoting or that's it. Isn't that how the Trump train works? Either you get on or you get ran over by it. The Democratic Party don't talk like that. They call themselves the Big Tent Party. Everybody can come under the tent. We're going to address everybody's issues at the table. You think if you're a member of the LGBT party or community rather, you think if you're trans, you can sit down and talk to a member of the Republican Party and they're going to give a damn about your issues at all? A Democratic politician will listen to somebody who is openly trans expressing things that are concerning to them. The Republican Party, you can go to hell with that. They think you got mental illness. They're not even going to talk to you. Going back to the box. And that makes it a lot easier to be a Republican politician. Looking in the super chat, I did want to address a super chat real quick. And I see Missouri Bank Fishing. Thank you for the super chat. Says, Kamala Harris is a terrible person. Feel free to elaborate on that. I mean, you can't just throw that out there like that. Florida and Texas are just as diverse. Well, Ed G the diverse areas of Florida and Texas have Democratic leadership. Jacksonville, Houston, I think Dallas had a Democratic mayor that switched recently, but the Democratic cities, or better yet, the big cities in those areas still have Democratic leadership. Like I just stated, diversity in the Republican Party do not go together. Diversity of voice, that party like to play. Going back to the box, Travel Man. Good evening. Welcome to the program, Travel Man. Because the Republican MAGA white supremacy people, damn. Jamie Mercado said, because the Republican MAGA party white supremacy. Travel Man, good evening.
All right, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Good to have you on. So Kamala Harris is going to do a CNN video. Do you believe that's too soft of a network for her?
No, not at all. For one thing, Dana Bash is doing the interview.
Yeah.
And she's pretty straightforward. You can say what you want to say about CNN, but they do have some good people on it. She's one of them. And she's going to ask the tough questions and the tough follow-up questions.
Fair. Any questions you would like to see her asked in particular?
No, not really. I would just like for her to do a follow-up on the reasons of her explain to people the changes that she's made. Seems to be a lot of talk about where she changed on fracking, she changed on some other issues. Basically, people want you to stick to one thing.
Is it possible maybe she's changing because her and both President Biden realized some of the Trump policies were right? That maybe something that we tried to get rid of that Trump implemented was actually a good thing, such as the border.
What about the border?
Well, they some of the remain in Mexico policies and things like that.
So basically, you had 75,000, 100,000 people sitting on the other side of the border waiting in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
That was basically creating a disaster. You had people over there getting robbed and raped and all kinds of stuff going on over there.
Wait. You're saying the remain in Mexico policy that kept them in Mexico created a disaster, so they were on the Mexican side of the border being victimized by violent felons and things like that, and you're saying the solution was to let them in this country?
No, I didn't say that. I did not say that.
Okay, it sounded like it.
What I said was that remain in Mexico policy resulted in 75 or 100,000 people or whatever being on the other side of the border, and they were being victimized by the people over there. I didn't say anything about letting them into the country.
Okay.
Now, we cannot, everybody can't come in. We don't have, number one, immigration-wise, our immigration system is jacked up, so we don't need to bring people in to do catch and release. That's not a good policy.
Okay.
Now, working with Mexico and also working with some of the other governments down there to try to find a solution to slow people or have them request asylum from the country that they're in, which is kind of like remain in Mexico. Okay, but they're remaining in their native country to request asylum. That's a much better way of going about it, I think.
Yeah. So do you believe that, because they've been in office for 4 years now, Kamala Harris was given some border duties? I won't refer to her as the border czar like some do, but she did go down there after being urged and taking 2 years to do it, and originally was adamant that there was no problem at the border. How do you judge the Biden administration's handling of the border?
Well, initially they blew it. Okay. There was a problem down there. Initially they blew it. However, having said, her responsibility was to go and meet with the other 3 or 4 countries down there where the majority of the people was coming from. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. That was her assignment. Her assignment, and I could be wrong, her assignment wasn't specifically the border. It was to go down and find out, okay, why do you have all these people leaving your country, and what can we do to slow that down and to help you keep these people here? Now, I could be wrong, but if I'm not mistaken, that was her initial assignment by Biden. As far as their overall handling of the border, they initially they didn't do a good job of it. They blew it. That was the one thing that I really fought him on, or fought the administration on, is that they did not address the border issue as well as they could have.
So how did you view Trump's handling of the border?
Well, Trump, first of all, the family separation thing. Okay, that was bad. That was bad. The remain in Mexico, it worked to a certain, he put it in place, but like I said, people on that side was victimized.
Let me rephrase it.
Hold on a minute. He also did a lot of damage because under Trump, illegal immigration increased, legal immigration decreased under Trump.
Okay, so let me ask it to you this way: if you compare both administrations, Trump versus the Biden-Harris administration, under which administration do you believe more undocumented, more illegal, more asylum seekers came in this country? Under which administration?
Well, can you really do that? Because you had the last.
We're speculating. We can speculate.
You had the last year of his administration where no one came across because of COVID.
Okay, let's go with the first 3 years. Let's go with the first 3 years of both.
The first 3 years, more people came across under Biden.
Yeah.
All right. But then you also got to remember that when Trump came into office, immigration, people coming across the border was at a 50-year low. So, and then it went up from there. So he had a lot of people coming. He had an increase in illegal immigration also. So it's not like he was like 100% correct on the border, because he wasn't.
Okay. So at the end of the day, you do feel confident that if Kamala Harris is elected as to be commander-in-chief, she will keep the border under control?
I think she will, but they had a chance with that border bill, with the immigration bill.
Yeah.
She said they'll bring it back. I have a hard time thinking that the Democrats would go along with it again. They had the opportunity, and the Republicans blew it out the water. People can say what they want to say about the bill, but 90% of the people have never been to the border. They don't know what's going on down there.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Yeah, I don't disagree.
There's no such thing as open borders. We don't have an open border.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you pointing out the Republicans blocked the bill, but the obvious pushback is, why did it take them so damn long to do it in the first place? That's what looks bad under the Biden-Harris administration.
But and the other question is, Trump and the Republicans had control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency for 2 years when he was president, and they definitely didn't do any investigation of him. And why didn't they do anything when they had control of it? They controlled everything, and they did absolutely nothing. Matter of fact, the Democrats they were even going to give him money for the wall, and he refused the bill the bipartisan bill that they had back then. So that's what he did.
So it almost sounds like you don't believe that Trump would be that much better on the border than Kamala Harris.
No, well, he would try to do some draconian things.
Yeah.
But then, okay, I'll just give you this one thing that he said. We're going to have mass deportations. Okay? Has anybody asked, what's the effect of that? I can tell you what it's going to be. Recession.
Yeah.
Vegetables rotting in the fields. Hotel rooms not being clean. Construction sites shutting down.
There's actually some real world examples of that. I believe Alabama and Florida have already, they've already passed some tough laws, and they're already seeing that now. Yeah, there's some real world examples.
They passed it, and then the Hispanic truck driver was like, "We're not going in there," And then you got the farmers down there saying, "I have 20 people, and I need 75." So it's a bunch of BS, is what it is. He's not doing any mass deportation. He was in there for 4 years. He ain't doing it.
I don't know if I feel confident in agreeing with that, though. But I got to move it on to Trevor, man. I think that if Trump gets in office, there will be some deportations. But I think there will be so many legal challenges to it that.
What are you talking about? You know, not at the level he's talking
no,
about.
yeah, I
He's
think,
not gonna get in the office.
Well, so you feel confident Kamala's going to do it?
No, I feel confident that he's progressively melting down. You know, so that's why they want that microphone muted when he debate her, because he's been attacking her personally. Myself, this is my personal opinion. He's been attacking her personally, and therefore she's going to, I think, go after him even more so. Kind of like when the boxer kept hollering Muhammad Ali catch his clay.
Oh damn!
And every time Muhammad Ali hit it, he said, "What's my name? What's my name?" You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking that she's gonna probably really come at him from a prosecutorial point of view and come at him like that. That's what I'm thinking, because he has really attacked her personally, consistently.
Well, personal attacks is kind of his method of operation. It's done well for him. But I got to move it on travel.
And he normally gets away with it, but this time he's probably ran into a person that's not going to let him get away with it.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you coming through.
Talking to you, bro.
Hey, it's been a pleasure. Thank you. Looking in the comments, if Kamala is elected, our country is legit doomed, says modern age hippie. Well, look, it's to some degree, some of this stuff is just talking points. And I will say this. I mean, maybe, but I will say we said the same thing when Obama was elected, when Biden was elected, et cetera, et cetera. Everyone believes that if their opposing candidate wins, the whole country's going to fall apart. They said the same thing about Trump too, by the way. Dencal with the underwater graphic. Appreciate that. Dencal. By the way, folks, tap the screen. Get the likes up to about 65,000. We can certainly make that happen if you let your thumbs not be lazy. Wait, when did Trump's wall become not racist? Gen X, I don't quite get that. And by the way, I did see some folks on the YouTube side of the aisle asking or arguing whether Trump is intolerant and all of that. You know, somebody said, what did Trump say that's racist and things like that. That's not what the topic is about today, but I can tell you with absolute certainty, he has said some things that are racially inflammatory, for lack of a better term. He has said something. I mean, you know, he talked about a total and complete ban on all Muslims. I mean, you're going to ban people simply because of what religion they're. I mean, he talked about a judge could not adjudicate his case of the Trump University case. He said that judge can't oversee my case because he's a Mexican. You're going to say that no judge that's of Mexican descent can oversee your case. I mean, that's racially charged, that type of language. Trump has said stuff, so I don't want to totally exclude him, because he has said some things. If you support Trump, you just kind of let it, you know, you took it with a grain of salt and let it roll off of you. But he has said some things. Tim, you know, the world depends on this election this time, though the whole world, can she handle the world? Christopher Bearden, good question. No president's job is to handle the whole world. She's essentially a managerial overseer. I mean, she has experts that are going to be dealing with all of those categories that she's not. She doesn't specialize in. You know, Kamala Harris hasn't served in the military. That's what the Joint Chiefs are for. Remember Dr. Fauci and Trump tried to tell you he knew more about COVID than he knew more about COVID than anyone knows. You supposed to surround yourself, as Trump stated, with the best and brightest. He promised to do that. He just didn't do it. But Kamala Harris, regardless of how you feel about her policies or whatever, if she surrounds herself with the right people and she's willing to listen to them, then yeah, she could get the job done. But if you lean right, you're not going to agree with that. Continuing on with the program, it's me, Kaylee. Good afternoon, Kaylee. Welcome to the program. I may have to stand up for a moment and get my charger. I just realized I didn't charge up the devices. Kaylee, good evening.
Hey, how are you today?
I'm doing good. Good to have you on. Kamala Harris is going on CNN. Do you think that's the right network? You think they'll challenge her?
I think she's going to get pushback no matter what she does. I think CNN is a good platform. No matter what she chooses, though, I think she's just going to get pushback that it's not enough.
Yeah.
I think my biggest thing right now is I feel like she is kind of on the defense a little. I feel like we see all these videos of JD Vance running around saying, why isn't she doing this? Why isn't she talking about this? And then she comes out and does talk about it. And to me, it feels a little bit of a defensive tactic. And I would kind of like to see her a little bit more on the offense. But I believe in her policies, and
Well,
when she's doing the right thing.
when you say you like to see her on the offense, what type of attacks do you want her doing? Let's say on Trump or on his administration or on the Republican Party. What offensive maneuvers are you suggesting you'd like to see?
I think instead of coming, I mean, we were at the point where JD was running around, I mean, even going up to Air Force One and saying, why isn't she talking to you guys? Why is she hiding?
Yeah.
Why is she, I think just her coming out, I know she's doing a lot of the rallies. I know she's going out and talking to the people, which is very, very important. But I do think that she maybe should have jumped on that a little bit sooner, doing interviews. There's a lot of cancer rallies
Kaylee,
would reach a different audience if she was doing some of these one-on-one interviews and answering some tough questions.
yeah, your signal's breaking up to some degree. I'll try to make it work, but your signal's going in and out. So in regards to
Oh, sorry about that.
that's okay. So in regards to her going on CNN, do you think it'll make any difference at all? In other words, is there anything she could say that would sway your vote from her or to her, or do you already have your decision locked in for November?
No, my decision's locked in. I am a member of the LGBTQ community, and there's absolutely no way I could vote for Donald Trump. And like you were saying earlier about the Democratic Party and being diverse, I'm every time for the party that's willing to do more. There's always room for improvement with everybody, and we all try to do the best we can. And I want to vote for someone who's pushing that, not someone just saying we all suck, no one respects us, we're falling apart. You know, we can't just throw the baby out with the bathwater. We've got to continue trying to improve and understand.
Now, as a member of the LGBT community yourself, who is admitting you would never vote Republican, what is it about the Republican Party that, as a member of the LGBT community, turns you off to that party? What is it about that party that makes you not want to vote for them?
So it's not that I wouldn't vote for the Republican Party. I would not vote for Donald Trump. So I was actually born and raised Republican. My entire family is. I'm in North Carolina. I was taught that my entire life, and I always voted down ballot. It wasn't until I got older and started doing research myself, looking into ABD rights and learning about what the parties actually stood for, that I switched to more of a Democratic view. Mm-hmm. But in this election, I am much more just not voting for Donald Trump. I think that he is very toxic for our country, and he is very toxic for people like my family. I'm married to a trans woman, and we live in North Carolina, and we have to worry about every gas station we stop at, and if it's safe for us to go in and go to the bathroom because someone might attack us. And we've dealt with that multiple times, and it is a scary situation. And unfortunately, where we live is a very red area, and I that is very important to me, that and women's reproductive rights. And I know that I'm not going to make any ground. There's not going to be any more acceptance from this country with someone like Donald Trump leading it. And
if he
does about it.
If you have a loved one that's a member of the transgender community, and they are using the restroom of the gender they identify as, there's nothing I could even come close to recommending in regards to voting for Trump. Yeah, because that's one of their core issues. They often state is they don't want you in that other restroom. So I mean, I don't have much else to push back with you on.
I mean, going in, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm with my partner, and it's like, I just need to pee. I just need to go to the bathroom. And we will drive to multiple places to try to find places that have a one in, one out bathroom, because it's not safe doing anything else. And it's not safe going in the men's restroom because you would be targeted and attacked for the way that you look. And it's not safe going into the women's restroom because you'd be targeted and attacked for the way you look. So it's very scary. And there are people in our country that are trans, whether we agree with it, like it, support it, not, and we've got to make it safe for people to exist. You don't have to agree with it, but we've got to make it safe for people to exist. And right now, unfortunately, it's not, and not with someone standing on a stage saying that these people are monsters and they're attacking people and creating false statements that don't exist. Statistics don't back it up, and
the transgender community. I don't know if you're familiar with the Green Book, something that African Americans had to use back during the pre-civil rights. The transgender community may find themselves almost needing a green book of sorts to navigate where it's safe to go. That could end up happening for the transgender community, where you might need a green book, because you mentioned in restrooms and establishments, that are willing to let you come in. You may end up needing a green book. It's really that much of an adverse environment for that community. So
I love that idea, and that is, I know exactly what you're referring to, and it is something that exists within the community, not necessarily to that extent of having something really published and passed around, but that is something that exists in the community of people. My partner's a comedian and travels and does comedy up and down the East Coast, and so that's something that we really deal with a lot, just going to areas we don't know, and we definitely communicate with the rest of the community, and people are very eager to share places of, hotels they've stayed at, Airbnbs they've stayed at, safe restrooms, safe rest areas. And that's very real. That's a very real thing with having a form of a green book for that community, for sure.
Well, Kaylee, I do got to part ways with you. You've certainly been an interesting caller. I can only sympathize with that entire scenario, because I can only imagine how dangerous that must be. And certainly if he's a comedian, or he or she, I don't want to get it wrong, so my apologies ahead, but if they're traveling, and going from, different places all around the country, the danger is real for that. Wow. Stay safe. That's all I can say in regards to that. That's scary.
Thank you for having me up. I just want to say real quick, I came across your live for the first time yesterday, and I've really, really enjoyed watching you. There's so many political platforms out there right now, obviously, especially on TikTok, and I really do appreciate you have a very calm demeanor and just talking facts, and you obviously have a preference, but you're not biased in a way of just trying to gloss over things just because you believe in it. And I've really, really enjoyed watching you. Not that my opinion matters, but I just thank you for what you're doing.
No, that absolutely does matter. My doors are always open to you, Kaylee. Come on back anytime, and thank you for your support.
Thank you.
All right, and moving the program on real quick. Tim's awesome, says RMG. I do appreciate the accolade. Stay safe, says Tammy. Yeah, I could not echo that any stronger. Stay safe. I mean, that, just hearing that story, you can, the danger is palpable. You can feel how dangerous North Carolina, by the way. And I wanted to ask Kaylee, if North Carolina is going to turn blue, because it is a battleground. It's a battleground for them. Wow, but that whole statement, that whole scenario has got to be, man, that's rough. That's rough. Freebird says, come out west. Yeah, if you're part of the LGBT community, any of the Pacific states, Washington, Oregon, California, yeah, you'll be far, far safer there. Far more welcomed. By the way, Ed G, thank you for the super chat, says, I'm a man and I use the women's restroom, but it's okay to identify as a perv. Ed, man, this is why it is difficult, folks. This is why I'm gonna leave that at that. That was very inappropriate, Ed. But at the end of the day, Ed, I always appreciate your support. I know where you're coming from, but that is wrong. Chris Ruth says we are working hard to turn North Carolina blue. That's it. It's on the fringes of that happening. It is on the fringes of that happening. Um, Gen X says, yeah, I agree with that. No one should be attacked. I can't stand that insane and degenerate ideology and delusional practice, but I never attack someone for it unless they did me harm. Well, and Gen X appreciate the input. The problem with the problem with the LGBT, or better, let's just stop saying LGBT because the main issue right now is on the T. L, G, and B for the most part have become fairly acceptable. It is the T that's having all of the troubles, and the issue is the right has began, and they used to do this with the L, the G, and the B before it became more common, but they're conflating them as pedophiles. They are making it sound like if you identify as the other gender and we let you in that restroom, your sole purpose is going to be to harm children. And that is obviously going to rile up people and it could lead to folks being harmed. It's not factual. It's not factual. There's no huge prevalence of transgender individuals harming children, but the right makes it sound like children are not safe around trans people. And yeah, it leads people to really want. And anytime you talk about harming children, you're going to upset people. And the right makes it sound like they are harmful to children. And I see in the comments, King Mo says the same with drag queens. Yeah, you're correct. The same with them as well. It's not the right, but do the research. There has been many molestations in these restrooms already. Anthony Root, before I go back to the box, I want to point out something that makes absolutely at least no sense to the host. Tap the screen, get the likes up to about 75,000 on the TikTok. They have something about TikTok just doesn't like the numbers this hour, but I'm going to ask that you folks tap the screen, try to get us up to 75,000. We'll see if we can make it happen. Same on YouTube. Feel free to smash that like button. We can do about 260. I think we can certainly do that. In regards to the notion that research says that there's been molestation come in restrooms, I assume you mean coming from the transgender community. Here's one thing I don't understand. When you listen to folks that are anti-trans or that is talking about this community, as I pointed out, the danger to children, same thing with drag queens, folks brought that up. The danger to children often comes up. However, as I often bring up, the right is favorable to Christianity. And we're talking Mormon, Catholics, even Baptists, a lot of Christian religions. The issue with children being harmed and abused is well documented. Some going back as far as a century, up to and including upper level. I don't want to say management, but cardinals, folks, literally hiding the abusers or relocating them, giving them the benefit of being able to reoffend someone else in a different location. Yet the right is pro-religion and anti-LGBT. The LGBT community does not have not even a fraction of the occurrences in violations to children that Christianity does. But the right is pro-Christian and they're anti. Can someone make that make sense? I bring this up on many shows, but just like I said, literally a century of abuse. But yet you have folks that would rather keep their children away from a drag queen show and drop them off at church. Somebody make that make sense. Doesn't make any sense to me. Let me go back to the box. Appreciate you folks tapping the screen. Same on YouTube. Get those likes up to about 140 if you will. The one and only Dencal. Good evening, Dencal. Welcome to the show. Gen X, I see you over there. I appreciate that. Catholic Church going broke now. I don't believe that. Dencal, good evening.
Hey, what's going on?
Not much at all. Just hanging around like Mike Pence. You know what I say. So what do you think? I mentioned Kamala going on CNN, but I want to also tackle a secondary topic. Trump is blaming the prior attempt on his life on both Biden and Kamala Harris. What say you?
I mean, that's typical. I mean, I wouldn't expect anything less of him. That's just what he does.
Essentially calling the vice president and the president attempted murderers. You expect him
Yeah,
to do
yeah.
that?
He said Obama personally bugged his,
Yeah.
bugged the White House. Like that's just what he does. He uses, anything he can get his hands on, he tries to use it, to further his own personal goals.
Yeah.
Just like he tried to do, what was that yesterday when he tried to visit Arlington Cemetery, and he tried to use it as a photo op, and the people from Arlington Cemetery told him, you're not supposed to be able to film any political or any type of controversial thing. You're not supposed to use those graves to do that. That's why you never seen people. If you seen shots of Arlington, all you do is see a picture of the whole grave site.
Right.
You don't see people standing in front of a grave. And Trump people got into an altercation with the people at the cemetery because they wanted to film it.
Jeez. Well, and I think the reason why Trump keeps continuing to get into infractions with the military is simply because he hasn't served and is just unaware of how things go. With the, same thing with the Medal of Freedom versus the Medal of Honor. He just doesn't understand this stuff, and he just keeps stepping in it with this.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sure when the people from the cemetery tell you, sir, you're not allowed to take a film crew over to the grave sites of the people that died, the people that passed during, the evacuation from Afghanistan. Like, he's just doing that for clicks and bait. He doesn't care about those people.
Wow. Well, what should happen? This is where, when Trump said he's going to surround himself with the best and brightest. This is what should happen that Trump doesn't do. In terms of advisors, or as some folks might refer to them as handlers, he should have a handler that has knowledge, that has in-depth knowledge of military procedures and things like that, to essentially, stand as a liaison between his statements and the public. Because somebody like that would be telling him over and over again, this is wrong, that's inappropriate, and things like that. Somebody even has in the comments that did he give a thumbs up in front of a gravestone or something?
I didn't see the whole thing. I just was reading part of it, part of an article that was explaining what was happening between the people, who run the grave site and his videographer.
Yeah. Yeah, this stuff would easily be solved. I think when him and Geraldo Rivera were still on good speaking terms, when Geraldo was still a correspondent for Fox News, I remember hearing him say he would love to be the overseer of Trump's Twitter account, because he was having an issue with Trump sending out all those messages, because Geraldo claims to be a Republican and he wanted Trump to win in 2020, and he was saying that then is that he would be far more favorable to the voting public if he just had somebody that would control some of this stuff. And now he's constantly, over and over again, stepping in it with the U.S. military. Is there not one military member around him?
Right, but I mean, one thing, like we've been dealing with this for over like 8 years. When are we gonna come to the understanding that he has no self-control? There are no handlers for Trump. He handles everything. When he wants, he gets to do whatever he wants to do. There's nothing. We seen the man, almost get taken out, and we thought, man, that's something that would really change a person. And the next day, he was out there running, and it was just,
Yeah, I had to. Yeah, it's interesting you raised that point, because I had to concede to my audience. I was adamant that nearly losing your life was going to make Trump a bit more calmer on the internet and social media. And I had several guests tell me there's no way he's going to still be Trump. And I'm like, no, I think he realizes now that some of that rhetoric could leak. And I really thought he was going to
No,
take. And
I heard you. I heard you.
I think a lot of folks in the Republican Party also thought he was going to do an about face. We were really wrong.
Yes, everybody who thought that a life changing experience would do something. No, he got right up there. They say, look, can you just talk about the issues and the policies and stuff? No, I reserve the right to criticize her personally. What is that?
Well, while we're talking about criticizing the criticization or criticizing Kamala Harris, don't have to like you, love you. Some says, how can you not see through Kamala's evil? How do you respond to folks who suggest that Kamala Harris is evil? Do we even know enough about her to give her that label?
And these are the same people that before Trump came on the scene said, but everybody loved him. Like nobody had a problem with him before he became president. Now everybody's attacking him. It's the same stuff that they're doing now. Now she's evil. Now she's Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Now she's, all of this stuff comes up, and it's just the hypocrisy for me. That look, it's hard for me to even have conversations with people who think that shallow and don't understand or don't look back at their own their own comments and what they said prior to. How can we have a conversation when you flip? When the occasion benefits you. It's not. I can't.
Yeah, you raise a good point, referencing that a lot of folks that support Trump have an issue with the notion that they didn't give Trump a chance from day one. And you make a good point. They're not giving Kamala Harris a chance from day one. They didn't give Biden a chance from day one or Obama either. So I think sometimes it's a case of you can see something when it's being done to you, but you may not see it as clearly when you're participating in it being done to others.
Right. I mean, but those are some of the things. Like if I had certain criticisms of Trump, and then I seen that maybe my side of the aisle was doing something similar, I'm not going to use that as a talking point. I'm not going to have dialogue with somebody where I have to basically flip my whole conversation. You know what I'm saying? To be able to have opposition to somebody, and that's why sometimes I even try to find out what the other person's perspective is, so we can have a better dialogue.
Yeah. Well, that's the goal. That's one of the whole purposes of this show. When basically I don't block, ban, or censor anyone, as I think that open dialogue is probably our solution to a hell of a lot of disagreements in this country. But unfortunately, there's not a lot of people that want to do that. Certainly, the cable news outlets, folks, whether you lean right or left, open dialogue is not something people seem to favor these days. And as a result, it's led to a far more tribalistic nation among the voters.
Right. Well, I mean, but even when I try to meet them where they're at, and they say something like, "Hey, well, they want to protect the children" or something like that, and I say, "Well, how about if I show you, a court case where Trump has been accused of him and Epstein together, and how about if I show you a videotape of him at the mall talking to a kid that's about 8 years old, talking about how he's going to date her in a couple of years? If I showed them these things, they would just brush them all off. Yeah. Now I'm meeting them where they at when they say they want to protect the kids.
Yeah. Well, and that's where you're going to face the challenge. That is that when it comes to President Trump, most of MAGA does not trust the media. So anything that's critical of Trump is automatically going to be met with resistance. So it becomes an issue of, let's just say for shits and giggles that Trump actually does do something legitimately wrong. For MAGA, there's nobody that can tell you. I mean, you don't believe anybody. So, I mean, you assume that unless Trump comes out and confesses, and to some degree, even if he confessed, I think a lot of folks will say the deep state got to him. But if
I'm saying, you can go on there and listen to the audio tape of him talking to a little girl in the mall. Like, it's not me, it's not the media, it's just him talking.
I didn't hear this. What is being said on that?
It's a little girl, they're walking, him and his entourage or whatever, they're walking and they're about to get on the escalator. And it's a little kid talking next to him. And he turns to the kid and he turns to his people and he said, hey, I'm gonna be dating her.
Oh yeah, I did hear that. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, God.
Yeah, I mean that's not media. That's not me, you, or nothing.
Yeah.
That's him saying with his own mouth, looking at children as objects to date.
Yeah, he did say something like if she was 10 years older, I'd be dating her or something. Yeah, Jesus. Yeah, he did say that.
He said, I'm going to be dating her in 10 years.
Wow.
And even then, she'd be 16.
All right, then, Cal. You don't depress me enough for the evening as always. Jesus Christ. He did say that. He did say that. You are correct. Can you imagine somebody... Can you imagine, even when it comes to MAGA, imagine, this is for my MAGA on YouTube, those are my MAGAs on YouTube, but for you folks that do support Trump, if you got a daughter that's under the age of 10, can you imagine a 50, 60-year-old dude talking about in 10 years he's going to be dating your daughter? Which means he obviously finds her attractive already at that young age, where he's contemplating the minute she's legal, he would date her. Would any of you folks be insulted by that? I mean, she's under... Jesus. All right, then, Cal.
Hey, one more quick thing.
Sure, go ahead.
I know you're kind of depressed, but...
Yeah, that was bad.
You ever heard the Michael Cohen story about how Trump came to his house the one time, and they were out in the back by the swimming pool, and Michael Cohen's daughter was in a bathing suit. Her and the friends were playing in the pool, and Trump looked at his daughter. It was like, I can't verbatim, but he was basically saying, "Ooh, that's a hot piece of ass right there."
Well, I don't know if you are aware, but I actually got a chance to interview Michael Cohen, and it wasn't, I wasn't soft on him at all, and I mean, there was a lot of eyebrow raised moments. I don't know if he enjoyed, because he thought the audience was really anti-Trump and pro-Cohen. And when I started asking him tough questions, one of the questions I asked him is, how are you going to get people to, because this was right before he was going to testify in the Alvin Bragg case. And I told him, it was the day before he was going to do it. And I told him, I said, how are you going to get people to believe you when you've been caught lying so much? Like, for instance, what you're talking about, suggesting that Trump was looking at his daughter in some nefarious way. You kept working for the man. The guy is looking at your own daughter side-eyed, and as long as he continues giving you a paycheck, you're going to keep working for him. That makes Michael Cohen look like he's lacking credibility. Don't come and tell us now, after Trump don't make your ass go to prison. I mean, you should have done it for the sake of your daughter when it was happening. So I'm a little hesitant in regards to taking it.
I'm just saying it goes along with a pattern. That's all I'm saying.
All right, fair enough. Well, yeah, Michael Cohen comes across, and what I told Michael Cohen to his face is that sounds like you were totally okay with all the things you're complaining about Trump doing as long as he was giving you a paycheck. All of a sudden you're not getting paid by him, and now you want to come spill the beans. It doesn't help. And I told him, I said, how are you going to get the jury members to not see that? And he gave me some kind of spiel. He said something, but yeah, I asked him.
Basically what he was saying was that all of the stuff in those court cases is backed up by documents and stuff.
Yeah. I don't see no issue with that. But like I said, Cohen, to me, like I said, he just looks like he's off of self. You were totally okay with all of this until until it came up. All right, I gotta move it on. Appreciate you coming through.
All right, take care.
You too, then, Cal. I just want to see this for one quick minute before we move the program on, because I haven't seen this in a while. This is a quick clip. I just want to see if I can see what was said about that, because what Cal just said triggered some memories. I'm going to see if I can find it. Hang on a second here. This is a quick, there we go.
Donald Trump is a well-known pervert.
I don't want to hear the Young Turks. I just want to see what was said. Real quick, I just want to see if I can find it. If it ain't in here, I'm not going to play it because it doesn't, there it is. Okay, let me see if I see it there.
He did not touch this girl, but CBS has unearthed a tape of him talking to a 10-year-old, and listen to what he says.
Thursday night, you're going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Can you believe it?
You can hear him say,
yeah, he did. 10-year-old. He did tell a 10-year-old he's going to be dating her in 10 years. Wow. Now, this ain't the media, by the way. You got to say when the media is the one that make people don't have an issue with Trump. He is saying this.
Thursday night, you're going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Can you believe it?
You can hear him say, I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Can you believe it?
Part of that video.
I'm not going to play the Young Turks, but wow. So, because folks always say, if you have an issue with Trump, it means your brain. Oh my God. Before I continue, I see in the comments, Biden quit. That's the name. Biden quit says, clearly he was joking. You notice, didn't anybody laugh? Do you really think a guy 50, 60 years old, as a parent, and I'm talking to you in the comments there, Biden quit. All right, and by the way, he did quit. That's an inaccurate name, but Biden quit says clearly he was joking. I would ask you, if you had a child that was 10 years old, and I'm assuming that at this point Trump was at least 50. What is he, 78 now? He's at least 50. If somebody that was of that age told your 10-year-old, I'm going to be dating you in 10 years, asking you specifically, I'm going to assume you start cracking up laughing. You'd find that humorous? He's 50. Jesus. All right, let me go back to the comment. Wow, I can't, look, there are plenty of times Trump is taken out of context or people say it was just a joke. That's a really bad joke. There's no humor in that. Look, favor the candidate. Favor his policies, maybe favor the direction for the country if you believe he has a better vision than Kamala. I get that. But don't try to defend obviously bad behavior. Just simply come out and say, listen, the guy does a few things I don't like, but I think he's better for America than Kamala. Don't defend that. Really? He was joking, huh? All right, let me go back to the box. If someone said your child, would you? No, and I agree with you, Charles Vaughn. I don't think any one of us in here. And by the way, for you folks who constantly criticize the transgender community as being harmful to kids, and you're okay with that, and you find that humorous, huh? All right. Let me go back to the box. I think I'm smelling a little bit of hypocrisy here somewhere, some way, somehow. Connor Griffin, good evening, welcome to the pro. Wow, and I see the comments, you can support Trump and have your differences too. Gold Digger, 1849, could not agree with you more. Exactly. Stop defending this sick talk, says Nana again. Yeah, that was bad. That is really bad. And for somebody to say that's a joke, yikes. How many videos of girls squirming in the grasp of Biden? To Quora 88, Biden does sniff a lot of hair, and I have never seen the right suggest that it was a joke. I've never seen the right suggest that was anything other than inappropriate. But here the man is talking about he's going to be and keep in mind, folks, when a guy says he would be dating somebody, I'm gonna be blunt here. That means he finds them fuckable. Dudes don't just take chicks out to date for the simple fact of, giving them a little bit of money and sending them home. If a guy says, I want to date you, he's attracted to you. That's kind of guy speak. He looked at a 10-year-old and said that. All right, I'm just gonna, you found it to be humorous, huh? I see in the comments, Rapid Fire says, stop it, bro. If you're gonna tell me if a chick said she would like to date you, you don't think the first thing that comes to your mind would not be that she finds you at least somewhat sexually attractive? That's kind of like the end goal of dating, is it not? He told her he would be dating her in 10 years. All right, let me go back to the box. My last guest did not come through. We'll continue on with Big Trig. Good evening, welcome to the program. They say it is locker room talk. Well, it ain't locker room talk when you say it to the actual girl. So you can say grab her by the what was locker room talk, but not if you're actually grabbing her. Kind of removes that. These dudes don't protect their daughters. I think they do. I think that just we're at a point where they're protecting Trump and not really wanting to admit the obvious. How you can't show his face? What are you saying, that wasn't Trump? Did they accuse the guy of trying to date a 10-year-old girl and he didn't speak out about it at all, just let it go? Okay, all right. 16 years or less, 12 Democrats. What do you like about the Democrats? They've run the country into the ground, says John Call. Well, it depends on your principles, depends on your own personal environment. The Democrats have not run the country into the ground for everybody. There's some people who don't like the economy or people who do not like the direction of this country, but there are others that are flourishing. The Democrats America is still number one globally. What do you mean by ran the country to the ground? Tell me somewhere else you could go that you feel like you'd be much better off. The country is not rich. I think you're going above and beyond. You can point to the economy or anything you have an issue with, but the whole idea that he's ran the country to the ground is a bit. You're overstating it. I make more money under President. Yeah, you said Burden. I'm assuming you mean Biden, Mike Tomlin. I'm making much money. And by the way, also keep in mind, despite the increased cost of goods and services in America, salaries have went up. Salaries have went up in a host of areas in this country. So everybody is not sitting on the porch finishing off their dog because they can't afford food. It's not as bad as the right is saying it is. I'm not saying it's great, but I'm saying the right is overstating it. Are you stealing money from your workplace? Are they paying you to do a job and you're on a live? I'm off work. Americans 100. When I'm in the car is when I'm between employees. I'm home for the night now. Jamie Mercado, good evening. Welcome to the program. We'll bring up the next guest. I don't know why, for some reason on TikTok tonight, it's really problematic. They're a 45-47 on the side of the red hat, and it's mind-blowing how no one knows what that means. 45-47, what does it mean? MT Boss, good evening.
What's going on, Tim?
Not much at all. Kamala Harris on CNN. Do you think that's a legitimate network? Do you think they'll ask her the tough questions?
Yeah, Dana Bash is going to do a good job like she normally does. And all the rest of everyone looking to have her be somewhere else, it's all a bunch of nonsense. I've been listening for the last hour. I listen to you all the time. People are just delusional about what's really at stake here. I'm voting on character. I'm voting on character, morals, morality. He has none.
So when you say you're voting on character, morals, and morality, some folks are going to, the right often says, like when folks talk about the mean tweets and things like that, that you're voting in your feelings, that you're a snowflake. How do you respond to someone who states that you're voting on emotion rather than policy?
Well, I look at it like this. Anyone that you would support directly in any level of a relationship, you got to at least believe they're trying to do the right thing. You have to at least believe that the person that's standing in front of you or that's trying to get you to do something for them, that you can trust what they say. How the hell can we trust anything that Trump says? I mean, the first time in U.S. history where a president has not been supported by his predecessor.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
Doesn't support him.
Yeah, I got to admit that the idea that virtually none of his cabinet supports him for re-election is a bit alarming. But I don't. For some reason, the right doesn't. Go ahead.
How can you ignore that? I mean, how can you ignore that? The right ignores everything. He says he hires the best people, then he turns around when they leave and says they weren't the best people, right? Yeah. It's insane to listen to sometimes because I feel bad for some people that believe it because he has no intention to do anything for the American people at large.
Wow. He's
trying to keep his ass out of prison, right? People dismiss the things that comment about the little girl. There's no way anyone should be dismissing that.
As a joke.
Yeah, everything is taken out of context. Here's the thing about this. And when in this country has a multi-billionaire rich white man been persecuted for no reason? I'll wait.
It's a good point.
I'll wait.
Good point.
It doesn't happen. It's never happened. You can't excuse everything away. But they tend to excuse it. I just can't get behind somebody I don't believe is trying to do the right thing. At least trying to do the right thing. Because no president, no cabinet is ever going to do all the things that they want to do.
Right.
Right? You just can't. You got to have control of all three branches, first of all. And even then, you don't have that kind of time. Because every presidency is either dealing with the great economy or the great circumstances they were handed or the poor circumstances they were handed. Every administration, every 4 years, you got to deal with that, right? And how long did it take you to get your bearings in 4 years as a president?
Yeah. Well, so you're basically saying you don't find Trump to be
Figured it out, right?
yeah. You're basically saying you don't find Trump to be trustworthy at all.
At all. Well, here's the thing. I can support that by listening to the very people that support him now say it less than 2 years ago. Mark Rubio, Nikki Haley, everyone that's supporting him has said exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not like I'm making.
Yeah, but you got to understand that. But if you're gonna use that angle, you have to admit that during the debate, Kamala Harris insinuated that Biden was somehow a racist, and they're riding together.
Absolutely, and that also, and I won't even try to talk around that. So that's something that she should and have to clarify. Correct?
Yeah.
It's a non-issue for me because it is what it is. But when you try to make a duck a bird and tell everybody it's a goddamn swan, it's not a swan. It's just so frustrating. You had Moonshine Margarita on there, and I feel bad for her because she believes all of that stuff. Jill Billy, baby, Jill Baby, or whatever.
Yeah, that was interesting. That was an interesting caller.
Tim, at some point in time, I will respect, and there's a lot of Republicans that are going to vote for Harris that went to the DNC. I don't respect their policies, but I respect their position. They at least said, hey, listen, I don't agree with, and they said it on national TV. I don't agree with her policies, but I agree that she's doing the right things for democracy. And they're basically conceding this election and saying, we'll see you in 2028.
Wow. Yeah.
And I can respect that. I can respect that. But when we just make excuse after excuse for this man and J.D. Vance and everyone around him have had complete 180s. I watched Lindsey Graham watch a clip of Trump telling him he doesn't give a damn about what Lindsey says. And he sits there and laughs. I can't believe what I'm watching from these grown-ass people. I'm like, and then you support them. Like, where do we do that at? Like, where does that exist?
Yeah, I had meant to do a video on that myself personally because I was kind of astonished when I saw that too. Like, Trump was basically saying, I don't care what he says, and then Lindsey Graham is on television and within a few hours defending Trump. Because he also said it does. His pick, J.D. Vance's pick for VP, is irrelevant. He pretty much said it doesn't matter who you pick for VP. They're watching me. So it's like, if you're J.D. Vance, how does that make you feel? You're sitting there with your wife and your family, and this guy's on TV who picked you to be the VP saying you're essentially irrelevant. I just picked somebody, but they're here for me. It doesn't matter who I pick. And it's like
it is so insane, Tim. Think about this. There is no one on your live right now that could get a job with Trump's resume.
I don't know about that.
Well, you got a lot of felonies. You got this adjudicated rapist. You got a lot of things that if you sat down and interviewed somebody and talked about his resume, would you hire that person?
Well, the reason why you threw me off guard when you said nobody can get a job with his resume, and I disagreed. You don't generally put your criminal record on a resume. You mean his application. You don't put on the bullet.
On your application.
Yeah,
you got to answer some damn questions. Would you refer him to someone? Would you refer him for a job with his history? Putting your reputation on the line.
Now, 34 felonies, whether they're witch hunts or not, are official felonies. They are on your record. And, there's a lot of Americans out there that believe they were wrongfully charged for some bullshit. And it doesn't go away just because you think it was a bad charge. It's on your record.
It doesn't go away. Every man on here that truly cares about anybody's children, if that joke was told in a locker room about the 10-year-old, every man in their locker room will move away from his ass. Let's just call it what it is, Tim. Come on.
That's a good point.
Doing that.
Yeah. I don't have any defense at all for Trump telling a 10-year-old that he'll be dating her in 10 years. No defense at all. And I'm surprised that some folks on the MAGA side of the aisle does have a defense for that, because that's bad. That's reprehensible. So
let me ask you this question, Tim. Isn't that
my caller may have gotten a call?
Isn't that enough?
It's really bad.
Isn't that enough?
It's really bad.
Be enough to not. You don't need to hear or do anything else. That's enough. But we've seen it, and it'll be excused, because that happened a long time ago. And by the way, the comment about Michael Cohen's daughter, she was 15 when that happened. That was an article written by CNN. It was Michael Cohen's account of what happened, and his daughter couldn't remember the details, but she did say in the article that she couldn't remember what disgusting comments he made.
Yeah, but you heard what I told my last caller. If you're sitting there watching this guy making disparaging comments about your daughter in front of you, and you continue working for him so you can get a paycheck, I don't want to hear you trying to tell us about it 5-10 years later. I mean,
100%.
yeah. So
wholeheartedly.
yeah, so that story right there means nothing to me.
No, I was just giving the facts of where the information came from, or from where the article came from, not the facts with the article. Because I really try to focus on facts. And when I look at McMaster's book comes out and they want to discredit it, it's just ridiculous. We would never accept this from a high school coach or a principal or a teacher. But we want to accept it from the highest position on the planet. And he's supposed to represent all of us. Yeah. He's supposed to represent all of us, and he doesn't. His policies don't. Project 2025 doesn't. Agenda 47 doesn't. It's sad. And to watch so many people call him not fit, unfit, and he's a threat to democracy on the right, and then turn around and support him on the right.
There's a lot of folks that favor him. I got to move it on, MT Balls. But 74 million votes the man got the first time. The votes don't lie. I mean, a lot of folks favor him.
Yeah, it's terrible. All right, my brother, I appreciate you.
Anytime. Come on back. Always doors open. Moving on with the program. Convicted fraud cannot be trusted, says Dick Ball. I don't want my kids to go to school in a racial jungle is indeed a quote from President Joe Biden. I am old gang. It is. I mean, look, I'm not going to pretend like Biden doesn't have some racially challenging comments in his own arsenal, but I think the difference is this: the Democrats are willing to admit that there are racial issues orbiting around Joe Biden. They're willing to admit that. The Republican Party, or better yet, the Trump supporters often say, well, Trump has never said anything that is racially challenging or racially charged. I think that's the difference. When Biden said the whole, you ain't vote for me or you ain't black or something like that, the Democratic Party didn't make up excuses for that. I mean, and by the way, I agree with you, BWR reviews, and saying that Biden owned it. Trump doesn't own those comments. He tries to say that, you should not believe your lying ears. Your ears are lying to you. Gay Barr, he's worried about neocons not supporting Trump. Elaborate on what you mean by that. He's worried about neocons not supporting Trump. I don't quite get it. Thank you for the super chat. Ed G, how can you ignore Kamala got no votes and that she was the least popular versus Julian Assange is #1 rich billionaire who got arrested for exposing the government? Well, there's all kinds of policies that risk Julian Assange violate. And by the way, he might have gotten some people killed. I mean, some things, folks who are spying on behalf of the U.S. I'd have to look more into Julian Assange, which he may have gotten folks killed doing some of the things. Look, at the end of the day, I understand the population wants to be knowledgeable on what the government is doing, but a lot of things we do overseas, you don't want to know how the sausage is made. There's a reason why we are the wealthiest country on earth. It ain't because everybody been nice to us. A lot of exploitation, theft, broken promises. The United States has done a lot of corrupt shit. Remember President Trump being interviewed by Bill O'Reilly, and Bill O'Reilly asking him why is he favorable to Russia and suggesting that Putin's been a dictator and done some bad things, and Trump said, so have we. Even Trump was eluding, like, you don't want to know how the sausage is made. So the Julian Assange thing, I don't know. I mean, I'd have to see more into everything he did, but he may have gotten some people killed. But asking how can you ignore Kamala Harris getting no votes? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how many votes she got when she ran for president. Biden picked her as his vice president. And when you cast a vote for Biden, it said on there you're voting for the Biden-Harris ticket. So you already knew if Biden is incapable, you're going to get Harris. Once he picked her, if you vote for him, then you're getting her as part of the package. It can though. Thank you for the super chat and the support. Gen X said, "I'd hire Trump in a heartbeat. I'm a real deal guy." Well, and I understand that, Gen X, but at the end of the day, you're hiring Trump because you know about Trump. You know about his charges. You believe his charges are all witch hunts and things like that. But if he was a regular Joe coming off the street, putting in an application at your business, and you didn't know him personally, and you're looking down the barrel of 34 convictions, actual convictions, not to mention there's other dozens of charges he still has out there. His number of 34 felonies could easily double. You wouldn't hire him. You would not. You're hiring. He's somebody you know. You're giving him a lot of credit that the average applicant would never get from you. M. Bagley, thank you for the fireworks. Appreciate that. You're giving him credit for things because you actually know him. Some dude you never met walks in and he has all of those charges. You're not gonna. And he's talking about, well, listen, look, I got 34 felonies, but look, they made all this bullshit up. It's all a witch hunt. Why would you hire somebody that has nearly 36 felonies when you got a whole stack of applicants and none of these other people have a felony at all? Why would you put your risk and the liabilities you could potentially be dealing with? Because keep in mind, if you hire somebody like that and something go wrong, you may have to answer a bunch of questions. Let's say you hire something like that and the person steals from you or does something financially wrong, and you have to call your insurance to cover. Your insurance company may not even want to pay you the claim. Like, you knew this guy had all of this and you hired him. If he harms one of your employees and they can show you knew who he was before hiring, you would face a lot of problems. I don't think you'd hire that guy. Looking in the comments real quick, if you want to know the face of the Democratic Party, look no further than Senator Robert Byrd. You can see him in his Master Klan's uniform. Tap the screen, get the likes up. Let's try about 170 on YouTube and certainly on TikTok. 115, can we do that? There's a few more of you folks in here. By the way, let me guys give you guys a spill on the program. We are MAGA friendly. We've been MAGA friendly from day one, always have been, always will be. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone. We go left of Bernie Sanders from having dinner with QAnon. You can be critical of anyone in the comment section, including yours truly. That's how free speech works. So feel free to state your case without any concern of being blocked, banned, or censored. And if you enjoy civilized dialogue from all sides of the aisle without any concern of the host trying to limit your opinion, I'd implore you to follow the program on TikTok or a subscription on YouTube, if you will. Senator Byrd, Jason Fig. I think the issue with Senator Byrd, and Senator Byrd was a former member of the KKK that Biden had a somewhat of a relationship with, and the right often brings that up, suggesting that means that, well, if Biden hung around a Klan member, that means he also was racist. What they don't tell you, what's missing from that story, is that Senator Byrd, towards the end of his life, he passed away in 2010. He actually really reconciled things with the black community, was favorable. The NAACP viewed him in high regard. I believe that Obama and Jesse Jackson were at his funeral. So the Senator Byrd story that you hear from the right is incomplete. They stop it at him being a member of the Klan. I think Obama eulogized him. Obama or Jesse Jackson actually spoke on behalf of him at his funeral. So the Senator Byrd thing is incomplete the way you guys give it. You give it where you stop with him being a Klan member. You don't tell all of the story of the Biden gave his eulogy, says Tim. Like I said, just come back, correct me, and I'll concede the point if you're right. But I'm telling you, those other individuals I mentioned, Barack Obama and Jesse Jackson, were also at the funeral of Senator Byrd. You think Jesse Jackson would be at the funeral of somebody who is actively in favor of the Klan? Just look it up yourself, because the Senator Byrd story is incomplete. Does anyone know that the Supreme Court is all military and not the 9 who was in there 8 years ago? I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, Hitler has a program called Strength Through Joy that mentioned free time of citizens and provided appropriate entertainment. Don't know what the relevance of that is. Let me continue on the program. So, what do you think he did as a Klan member for 50 plus years? Bad shit, Stevie D. Bad things. I mean, at the very least, he promoted it. I'm going to hopefully assume he didn't harm anybody, but being part of the KKK is obviously all about oppression and white supremacy. I don't know what he did as part of it, but at the end of the day, if he came correct, just like if you're religious, don't you believe? If you are religious, don't you tend to believe that a person can confess their sins and have their life corrected, or do you or are you held accountable for eternity? Let me know in the comments. Let me go back to the box. Continuing on with truckers for Trump. All right, I like it. Truckers for Trump. Good evening. Welcome to the program. You guys heard my computer fall. I wanted to talk to truckers. Apparently he dropped. Now listen to your videos. I got to be honest. You have a more intelligent position than Trump. Daryl 3130. That is one hell of an accolade. Wow. A more intelligent. I'm not going to put myself on that pedestal, but I do appreciate that sentiment. Well, that's a point. Okay, if you're religious, could they change? That is a point. I'm just simply saying, if Senator Byrd realized what he was doing was harmful, let's say, for instance, you are a thief, jewelry thief, or a bank robber, or whatever the case may be. You got a history of robbing banks. You've harmed a lot of financial institutions, maybe even people that worked at the bank. And you get out of prison, a lot of times the feds or the police will work with you to help you, for you to help them catch other folks. Maybe Senator Byrd started helping members of the black community, members of the Democratic Party. There's a lot of former Klan members that have done that. You see him on Oprah Winfrey and some of these shows, when Oprah Winfrey had a show telling you these are the signs to watch out for. This is how I was converted or radicalized. I mean, you can actually see the light and correct yourself. So you don't have to be held for eternity. Let me go back to the box and try this again. Byrd was just like Margaret Sanger, cut from the same cloth. Yeah, it could be. Margaret Sanger's the one behind Planned Parenthood. I get your story, but we're not talking about whether he started out as bad. We're saying, is it possible he could have repented? Truckers for Trump. Am I pronouncing that right? Is that what I'm reading?
Yeah.
Good evening. So,
yes, I'm just going to come on here and say I appreciate your show. I've been on there multiple times.
Thank you.
I appreciate the freedom of speech and the open platform that you provide for everybody, because I'm not going to say all of them, but most of the Democratic Party, and I was independent, and I'm leaning more right now. But most, if not all, the Democratic Party on here that want to debate, just if you say that you're leaning right or any kind of any way except left, attack your character and just
I don't listen. I agree with you that there's a hell of a lot of that out there. Now, if you ever turn on the notifications for my program, sometimes you will occasionally find me in other lives. I generally go towards things that are on the right. I tend to go to MAGA lives. Certainly any African Americans that are MAGA, you'll find that happens to me often as well. I get cussed out, called all kinds of names. I mean, I agree with you. If your politics are different than the host of some of those programs, folks are going to say all kinds of bad. But you're not going to escape that no matter what side of the aisle you're on, because the right does it pretty heavy too.
Yeah, just like I tell everybody, I don't have to agree with your politics. I don't have to agree with your lifestyle. At the end of the day, we're all Americans.
Yeah. And that's what we aim to do here, is to let everybody speak. You don't have. That's why I said we go left of Bernie Sanders, so I'm having dinner with Q. I believe in free speech to a fault. So let me ask you though, with Kamala going on CNN, do you think that that's the right forum for her? Do you think they will be willing to ask her tough questions?
It's hard to say because we haven't really seen her out in public or anything taking any kind of questions without a teleprompter. So it's hard to gauge what is fair and not because she hasn't done it yet.
What questions would you like to see her asked?
Or just policies in general. I mean, that's all the right really wants to hear. It's just what is your main policies.
But here's what I don't get. Folks on the right, like yourself, and particularly MAGA, are stating that they don't know what policy she has, but then they're calling her far left. If you can actually refer to her as far left, then you clearly know what. I mean, either she has no policies or she's far left. You can't be both.
Well, yeah. Well, what I'm going to say about my beliefs when it comes to the Republican Party is, I'm like. Some of the people in the Republican Party, not MAGA, because I'm not part of MAGA. I don't. There's times where I think he needs to shut his mouth. I don't believe in some of the stuff he says, but I do believe in most of his policies.
Okay. Well, let me just interrupt. I'll let you continue. Let me just interrupt and say this, and I'll let you continue. But from the 2016 to 2020 Trump. A lot of things that folks on the right that supported Trump was saying is, pay attention to his policies and ignore the rhetoric. Ignore the tweets, pay attention to what he does, not what he says. However, the 2024 Trump is different from that Trump because now it is policies that people are running from. Obviously, the Roe v. Wade thing, him talking about giving police immunity and stopping frisk. He now has some troubling policies, truckers. How do you respond to that? Do you believe the police should be given immunity?
I don't think the police should be given immunity. Now, the Roe v. Wade thing, I'm for it because all it was just basically give it down to the state level instead of it being a federal mandated thing. The state, that's why I tell people, if you want to change this country, stop trying to moan and complain about the president. You just start voting for the House. You just start voting for the Senate. You can start voting for Congress. It starts from the bottom and works its way up.
Yeah,
this
but
country is founded that way.
I think the problem is people believe that if Trump is ultimately victorious in November, he's going to try to go for a federal ban on a woman's right to choose.
I don't think that will ever happen because, number one, even if that happened, there is no way that would even last.
Why do you say that?
Because even the people on the right that don't believe that stuff, I mean, I don't believe that there should be a complete ban on it.
So you believe, because most of the folks on the right are pro-life, you believe that if Trump imposed a federal ban, that the pro-life folks on the right would be argumentative about that? They would have a problem with that? Folks who believe that if you believe in saving the life of the unborn, why would you give a damn if they forced it in Illinois or California? If your whole spiel is that people should not be taking the life of the unborn, if he gets it done federally, you really think they're going to protest that?
I don't know. I can only speak for myself.
I mean, you can speculate, though.
Maybe not. I mean, that's all I can really say.
Yeah. I don't think there's a chance in hell of that. I think that, I mean, they may want it to be given to the states, but listen, if he goes further, I mean, at the end of the day, we're saving babies. I don't think the right would have any problem with that at all.
Like I said, I don't know. Like I said, I don't believe in it, so I don't know what they'll do. Because there's, like I said, not all Republicans, and some of them are easy swing, or easy to sway, so I don't know.
Okay, so now you mentioned you're not a fan of him giving police immunity. What about stop and frisk, bringing that back?
Stop and what?
Stop and frisk, giving the police, in effort to lower crime, giving police the right to just stop and frisk anybody they feel they may be concerned with. I mean, no warrant or anything. If they
I don't believe that either because it's unconstitutional.
Well,
They have to have probable cause before they even do anything, and for them to have a probable cause, they have to do that to be able to pull you over in the first place. So for them just to pull you over to frisk you for probable cause, that's against the Constitution.
Well, the problem is he's talking about doing this stuff, though. I mean, he's actually saying he wants to do that.
No, I don't believe in that either.
Yeah. So I mean, I understand your concerns with Kamala Harris, but I mean, the fact is, we talked stopping first. That's a clear violation of the Fourth Amendment right. I brought up earlier him talking about you should get a year in prison if you're caught burning a flag, which is a clear violation of the First Amendment right. And
that also goes towards what I'm talking about. He needs to shut his mouth sometimes.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that. I mean, but yeah, because we hear folks suggesting that what Trump is not talking about taking anybody's rights away. Yeah, he actually is.
It's like he said he was going to drain the swamp, but he did nothing. But we're not going to go there.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, if you favor the direction of Trump over Kamala Harris, I can totally understand that, depending on your principles and where you stand. I'm not.
It's you got to weigh what the good policies over the bad policies is what I got to tell people.
Yeah, but
who has good policies? I mean, they're not every president is going to have all good policies. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but when you say the good policies over the bad policies, I think to some degree, though, we're giving him a pass on the bad policy. I mean, like literally taking away the First and Fourth Amendment. That's a huge bad. I mean, would you be willing to give that up if you could get $2 gas? If you could get a good economy, would you be willing to give up your First and Fourth Amendment rights?
I wouldn't.
Yeah, that's a huge bad policy. I think we're just downplaying it. By the way, we often talk about the liberals wanting to take away gun rights, for instance. He's the one that banned bump stocks and talked about you don't need an AR. I mean, so we're talking the First, Second, Fourth Amendment, and if I'm correct, he made a quote about if you plead the Fifth, it means you work for the mob or you got something to hide, which is the Fifth Amendment. That's four amendments of the Bill of Rights. That's coming from him. Why is he saying that stuff?
I don't know. I mean, this whole just race in general just turning into a joke anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, it was bad. It was bad when Biden was in it, but when she came in there, it's like they're piggybacking off each other.
Yeah. Why not Nikki Haley or somebody? I think you guys had a winning candidate, man. I know MAGA don't like me saying this, but I really think you had at the time.
I was for in the primary. I actually didn't vote for Trump in the primary. I voted for Vivek.
Well, and I think Vivek would have likely went a bit further too, because he was basically Trump light, but anyone without the baggage that's orbiting around Trump.
That's why I liked him, because he was Trump light, but he was a way better speaker than Trump is, in my opinion.
Fair enough. I can't argue with that. I can't for some reason. So I guess before I'm moving on from you, Trucker, why do you believe that the overwhelming majority of the Republican Party seems fixated on former President Trump, even though, as you're pointing out, you could likely get most of the same policies out of a lot of those other candidates without all the baggage, such as Vivek and Ron DeSantis in particular. They're going to do just about everything Trump would do.
It's the same on both sides. It's most of these people that are voting on both sides are voting for feelings over policies is the problem.
Well, but Kamala Harris doesn't have anywhere near the baggage of Trump.
Oh, I know that, but yeah. What I'm saying, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's that's what they're doing. It's, I don't like him, so I'm voting for her. I don't like her, so I'm voting for him. That's what I'm saying.
And well, last question. What do you think about J.D. Vance? You think he helped or hurt Trump?
It's hard to say, because he's from my home state. I'm from Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
So he hasn't even been a politician that long. So it's hard to judge what he's going to do, because like I said, he hasn't been a politician very long.
He sure sounds like he loves women to be pregnant.
Well, that too, and that's why Trump picked him, because apparently he likes to bash the left just like Trump does. But like I said, this has just been they're just bashing each other. Yeah. I mean, you got the one on the left bashing the one on the right. It just, like I said, it's turning into a joke. Like, this debate's going to be ridiculous. I can almost tell you.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that, but it is indeed must-see TV. Truckers for Trump, I do got to move it on. Appreciate you coming through.
All right, thank you.
Absolutely a pleasure. All right, moving the program on. Truckers for Trump. Appreciate that. I thought he was going to be a little bit stronger in the MAGA camp. He's certainly welcome to speak his opinion, but he went for Vivek first. He went for Vivek Ramaswamy. So Trump was actually his, I want to say second choice, or to some degree his only choice. I mean, the party forced him to vote for Trump. He wanted Vivek Ramaswamy. So look at the comments. Most views in history be ready. The Buffer International. I don't know what that means. Ravens 25 fan. I'm going to skip over that. Jesus. That's cool. Were you born there? Must be a super interesting place to live, overflowing with history. I don't know what that, or you guys are talking about something else here in the comments. We need a change. Life under Trump was very fine. Forrest Savage, anytime you bring up January 6th, what does MAGA bring up? Cities rioting, burning, and looting. You guys are, life wasn't fine. Life was fine under President Trump for some people. I get it, but it wasn't fine everywhere. There was a lot of chaos under Trump too. Wasn't it Nikki Haley while running for president that stated, the solution of Biden's chaos is not to go from one chaotic person to another one, even though she's endorsing Trump now. So it wasn't, I don't know if it was as good as you're saying. Vance wants thriving families. You make that sound controlling. To Corey, it is controlling. If JD Vance is suggesting that women with children get more say-so at the voting booth than women without, yeah, it is controlling, because now that means that moms will have more say-so than women that don't have children. I mean, a human's a human. Why is one that has kids having more say-so in how the country is ran than someone that doesn't? So yeah, it is controlling. What do that have to do with JD Vance saying all women need to be? Yeah, he said stay barefoot and pregnant. He didn't quite say women need to stay barefoot and pregnant, but he is certainly promoting, making it sound like it's beneficial if you got kids as opposed to somebody who doesn't. And I'll tell you this, what I said on yesterday's live. That sounds good until it's time to implement it. He said that if you have children, your children should be given votes, and the control of those votes should be given to the parents. So if you're a mom with 4 kids, then you get 5 votes at the polls. The reason why I said it'll never work, you're going to tell me a mom that's sitting at home on welfare with a bunch of kids has more say than maybe a combat mother that's overseas fighting for a country that has no children at all? The mom that's on the couch collecting a check, it's not going to happen. I'll tell you this, if they do end up doing something like that, and all of a sudden all of these women of color are getting all of these extra points in the polling box, there's going to be an amendment to that real quick. That ain't going to last very long. They would amend that really quick to change that. So good luck with that. But the fact that he said it should be problematic. I don't even know why he would have said something like that. Y'all won't even define what a woman is. You shouldn't take issue with that. All right, don't have to be. I hear you. I hear you. I'll leave. I give you the win on that. There are folks who have an issue with that. I understand. They should have to pay more taxes too. Then no taxation without representation. It just shouldn't happen. It's wrong. It's wrong to give control of votes, to give votes to children. It's just wrong. It shouldn't even be allowed. When Kamala Harris wins, she should put Trump on the terrorist watch list. Damn. With that cool Ed, that's a bit strong. We go to the box. Continuing on with the program, we tried to bring up Big Trig. Let's try it again. Good evening. Welcome to the program. Bro, Iran is no joke. What the hell are you talking about? It says, James?
Yes, Tim.
Good evening. Welcome to the program.
Thanks, Tim.
Hey, what are you sound like you're performing some kind of ritual over there? You got some noise, you got a noisy background, some music or something going on?
I moved out of that room.
Okay, all right.
Better now?
All right, sounds good. So Kamala Harris going on CNN. First of all, let me, just for shits and giggles, which direction are you leaning in this national election? Are you leaning more to the right or to the left?
I'm definitely going right now because the guy I was going for just dropped out and supported Trump.
Kennedy.
Robert.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I like Bobby a lot. I was fully committed once I saw his like hour and a half speech there when he was talking about stepping aside and yeah.
Let me ask you you're one of the very few kid. I mean, I haven't. I mean, we've been doing this. We've been doing this the entire election season, and I haven't gotten many viewers that support Kennedy. But let me ask you, what policies of Kennedy did? Because he ran as a Democrat. What policies did Kennedy promise that led you to want him to be president?
One that I think you can believe with wholeheartedly: freedom of speech, not censoring people, allowing the free guys to talk on any platform they want and just say what they want for the most part. He's big on free speech.
All right, give me another one. I'll tackle that one in a second. Give me another one.
Another great one is bringing health back to our poor children. You know, a lot of the food industry, there's a lot of studies that show that stuff that we pump into our food to make it last longer, not good for our kids.
All right, you're doing good. Give me.
What is this, a quiz test?
No, I'm going. I like to make sure I focus on my guests. I'm going to address a hell of a lot of things about what you're saying in these three. Give me one more. I want to make sure I'm giving you plenty of acknowledgement here, James. Give me one more.
Basically, the biggest reason why I was supporting him was because everybody was ignoring him. You know, quite honestly, pushing him to the side, suing him left and right to try to keep him off ballots, and just pushing the guy to the side.
Everybody loves it. Everybody loves an underdog. Okay. That one I have no counter for. I understand people like an underdog. I mean, it is what it is, and that's also a reason why some people like Trump as well. They believe that Trump is being mistreated or not taken seriously, and a lot of folks are voting for Trump for that same reason. But in regards to your other comment, now the second one, because as you started out by saying, Kennedy is now endorsing Trump. Now you talked about the health of children and like bad ingredients and things in foods. There's no denying we got a lot of children that are diabetics and things like that by their time they're a teenager and obese. We agree that there's bad nutrition out there, but you do acknowledge that Trump is for smaller, less regulation. For the stuff you're talking about to be accomplished, you would have to regulate what's being put in the food of children. Trump is for less regulation.
Absolutely. Did you watch his concession, whatever way you want to look at his speech there when he said he's going to start?
Now, I happen to be working, but what I'm trying to figure out is if that is what Kennedy is promoting, what would make him think he's going to get that from Trump? Trump is for less regulation.
Trust me, watch it. It will open your eyes to a lot of what Kennedy believes in. I believe he's a great guy from what I've seen, and his policies solid. And he said straight up in that him and Trump have agreed to basically disagree on certain things. There's some policies that Trump is for that he's wholeheartedly behind, and other ones that he's not.
Yeah.
But he still believes that Trump's a better option than Kamala.
I think in regards to this, the things that are in our children's food, if he really is in favor of healthier eating in this country and preventing corporations or food companies, him and Trump gonna have a falling out because Trump is for less regulation. Trump is not going to be telling cereal companies and a lot of these people what they should put in food. Him and Trump gonna fall out on that. Now, in regards to free speech, that's the first one you mentioned. I often bring up that Trump wants a year in prison for anyone caught burning the flag. That is protected by free speech.
I wholeheartedly agree, but you understand why he's saying that.
No, I don't. It's free speech. It's free speech.
Okay. He looks at the United States, a citizen burning that is disrespectful. If you go to the left side of it, you could pick any other group that has a flag. I'm not sure what I can say on TikTok and what I can't. But if we burn those flags, then all of a sudden everybody blows up, we riot, we go crazy, So he wants it to be treated the same way as everything else.
Okay, you started out by mentioning it's disrespectful. Do you realize how much free speech is disrespectful? I mean, half of the things Trump says is disrespectful, but it's free speech. You don't get to violate the laws of free speech because it's disrespectful. I mean, that's not how it works.
Wholeheartedly believe, and if you check his project, 47, that's not listed on there of his things to do list. That's would be something that he's made offhand comments like he does all the time. So that's how he feels about it. It's not a policy he's going to be pushing.
Well,
that's
I mean,
it should be.
Well, when you say
to make it that way,
yeah, when you say it's not on his to-do list, I'm going to assume taking away Second Amendment rights, socialism is not on Kamala Harris's do list either. But people are still accusing her and suggesting that she's going to do it. I mean, of course, it's not going to be on his to-do list. When Trump got elected, not once did he ever have rolling back Roe v. Wade on his to-do list. I mean, he never said that. You don't say the quiet part out loud, otherwise it would hurt your campaign.
There again, he's taking credit for something all he did was appoint judges. You can't make those judges do anything they don't want to do. That's why I like our judicial system the way it is. We need to have our judges separate from politics. They should not be involved with it at all. They need to be able to hold.
You do realize he announced ahead of time that his goal was to appoint pro-life judges. He deliberately chose he wanted to appoint pro-life judges. He came out and said that.
I am not pro-life. I am not pro-choice. I think that it's a very difficult decision that people put themselves in. Sometimes I have a special needs daughter, if I can, real quick.
Sure.
Me and my wife, we were told to have a DNC. They said, your child's not going to survive birth. This ain't going to happen. We both agreed to it.
Okay.
Both of us thought the other person wanted to do this. But after a lot of talking and thinking, and some time, she comes up to my work and she's like, I really don't want to do this. I'm like, thank God I didn't want to either.
Wow.
What happens, and she's still here to this day. She's going to be 18 next year. So doctors don't know everything. To me, that is a personal choice.
Right.
And depending on people's situation, there's reasons why I could understand why people do it, because I almost did.
Well, I'm not really going into, trying to dissect why they do it. I'm just simply saying it's not my right to tell them if they can or cannot. Because like you said, if I don't know what you're going through, how do I get the right to dictate what you can do?
Absolutely. I completely 100% agree. And that's why it's been pushed back to the states. I think the Supreme Court made the absolute right decision. Let the local people decide how they're going to handle their local area. You can get down. The closer we get to home on policies like that, I'm for smaller government. I like local governments.
But you're saying let the local people decide. Is there any state in the union that has a ban or even a limitation on this that came by way of the people deciding? Out of all of this, I think there's about 22 states that has some kind of ban now that it went back to the state. Is any of those states doing that because the people voted it in?
And that's what's wrong. Yes, yeah. I agree with you. I think that power needs to reside with the people. And I think we let government make too many decisions in our lives that they don't need to be a part of.
Yeah. And I see in the comments, people are saying it's legal in every state. I don't know why a lot of Trump supporters try to make it sound like nothing happened with abortion rights. It's legal. Look, they knocked it down to heartbeat law in 6 weeks. They knocked it down to the point where women don't even know by the time the ban kicked in. The idea that it's legal, yeah, you can have it. You just got to get it on day one. I don't know why people... Go ahead.
I understand what you're saying, but they have the opportunity when election season comes around, and if there's enough of those people in that area that don't agree with that, change the guys who voted that stuff in. Get it out. Get your right guy in there to change it up the way you want it. And that's why I believe it needs to be closer to home and not at a federal level.
But understand, none of this would be happening if it was not for Trump, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And I'm glad it happened.
Right, but if you're pro-choice, are you glad that Trump did this?
Yes.
Why would you be glad if you're pro-choice and it was legal in all 50 states? Why would you be glad that Trump has now started a process where it's illegal or at the very most greatly limited in about 22 states now.
That would require the pro-life person to also be not wanting large government. And if they believed about the same way, they would look at it the same way as me. Keep it at the local level. That way I can control what's happening to my life. It's a lot easier.
You're not controlling you're not controlling what's happening in your life. You're controlling what your neighbor is doing. You want to control what's happening in your life, don't terminate your kid. But you're going and voting on whether your neighbor can do it.
Right, and I don't agree with doing that, like I told you.
But you just said you want to give the state the right to make that decision.
I don't want the states to have that right decision. I don't want the federal government to have that right decision. I think that's between themselves, God, and their doctor. That's, to me, it's a personal choice.
So you believe that any state imposing a limitation on this is wrong?
I believe any state imposing a lot of stuff is wrong. This would fall under many of them.
Okay. So in other words, then you should not have been in favor of states' rights.
Well, I'm more in favor of states' rights than federal rights because it's a lot harder to change stuff at the federal level than it is at the state level, sir.
Okay. Oh, and I don't know about that. Well, yeah, okay, at the federal, yeah, you're right. At the federal level, it is harder. I do agree with that. But the history of states' rights in this country, at least for people that look like me and women, is far more draconian than the federal laws were.
Oh, I agree, and it was wrong.
Yeah.
It had to start somewhere, and then it got pushed up to federal. It got kicked back. Thankfully, we got some of that sorted out. I think there needs to be a lot more sorted.
We got it sorted out we got it sorted out through federal intervention, which is why a lot of folks are afraid of going back to states' rights, because if the feds hadn't got involved, the states were never going to get it sorted out. They were fine with the oppression and mistreating people.
Right, and I totally understand that. I mean, look at it as a parent. You got two kids fighting, you step in there, you separate it. Eventually, you're going to go out, you're going to have some time away. Those kids need to learn how to behave themselves. So yes,
sometimes you may come back. No, there's a story of Cain and Abel where sometimes you may come back and one of them's dead. They may not sort it out.
that is very true. That is very true. That's a risk we run when we leave the house and leave the kids at home.
Yeah, that's why as a parent you should be the federal government and impose some laws. Sometimes you can't leave it up to the kids to sort it out. They may not do that.
Right. Yeah, basic rules though. We don't want to tell them what to say.
Right.
No, you don't want to interject that far into their life. You want them to grow up and to be an individual. You have to give them some freedom. If you don't give them any freedom, they're just going to end up hating you and taking off. But yeah, I look as the federal government. I do not want it involved in my life. To me, I look at it, their job is to protect our borders, protect us from other foreign countries, not to interfere in our day-to-day life.
I don't see what's the difference. I mean, if the president is interfering with my freedoms, or if the governor's doing it, to me it makes no difference. It's still government, state government, federal government. If the government is interfering with your freedoms, it shouldn't matter where it's coming. I mean, it's still interfering.
Yes, I'm just saying, at that local level, getting closer on those things, it's a lot easier to vote them out, remove them, than it is at a federal level. That's top-notch high. And it takes forever to change policies. That's why we argue about the same thing over and over and over every election season. Yeah. Because they don't change anything. They don't fix anything. They're both at fault. They're horrible.
That is absolutely true. James, I appreciate it. Thanks for coming through.
Thank you, Tim. You have a good one, man.
Absolutely. You too. And I wanted to give me 1 second on TikTok. The screen may go black for a minute. I want to look up something I was trying to bring up. Some form. Okay, I see what I want to bring up. Okay, I was looking for something I had on my device and I was able to find it real quick. I want you guys to hear. This is a clip that because we talked about states' rights on that last conversation. So give me 1 quick second to run this clip by you, because I think this is relevant to what we just talked about in regards to states' rights versus federal. This is something that this is actually President Trump, by the way. Let me see if I can bring it up. You see what's on the screen?
What should the law be on abortion?
Well, I have been pro-life.
I know. What should the law? I know your principle. That's a good value, but what should be the law?
This presidential election is going to be very important because when you say what's the law, nobody knows what the law is going to be. It depends on who gets elected because somebody's going to appoint conservative judges and somebody's going to appoint liberal judges depending on who wins.
I've never understood the pro-life position.
Well,
I never understood it because I understand the principle. It's human life as people see it.
This is the response I want you to hear. Now, this is before he got elected in 2016. It's an older clip, as Kimmy is pointing out, but it goes to letting you know that, okay, because everybody's talking about he wasn't trying to do it federally, he's only doing it at the state level. Listening to this clip gives you a clear-cut example of what he was trying. He's never going to mention states' rights in this, but listen to his response here.
Well, what crime is it?
Well, it's human life.
No, should the woman be punished for having an abortion?
Look, I would say that it's a very serious problem, and it's a problem that we have to decide on. It's very hard.
But you're forbidding it.
Say, well, wait, are you going to say put them in jail? Is that
well, no, but I'm asking you because you say you want to ban it. What's that mean?
I am pro-life. Yes.
What is ban? How do you ban abortion? How do you actually do it?
Well, you'll go back to a position like they had, where people will perhaps go to illegal places.
Yeah.
But you have to ban it.
Do you believe do you believe in punishment for abortion? Yes or no? As a principle.
The answer is that there has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah, there has to be some form.
Now, he never mentioned states' rights during that interview. So folks are saying he wants to give it back to the states. And there are other clips of Trump saying it could go federal. I just want to point that out. So when folks say it's only about states' rights, I see somebody said 9 years ago. Yeah, you're bringing up Willie Brown. Kamala Harris said Willie Brown. But now 9 years is too far back. Joe Biden in the crime bill from 9 years ago. A racial jungle and Senator Byrd, but 9 years is suddenly too far back now. All right, I get it. But no, what I'm saying is that when you listen to his clip, it's pretty clear that when he was running for office, he intended to do things federally. I think that he just has come to realize it's unpopular. He's downplayed it or backtracked it down to, well, let's try states' rights. But and then after states' rights started looking unpopular, now he's saying, well, I want to give provisions for grape and incest. But clearly, he started out by saying, if you do this, you should be punished. This is coming out of his mouth. All of a sudden, when it comes to Trump, old clips is irrelevant. Like I said, we bring them up on Kamala Harris and Biden and Obama all the time. But you listen to how he started out when he was running for office. He clearly was for a ban and punishing women that engaged in the behavior. Now, look, if you want to say he's evolved, so be it. Maybe he has evolved. He evolved from banning and punishing women to states' rights. But he's clearly saying it here. He's clearly saying he wanted women to be punished. And then he has since evolved from states' rights to now saying, well, women should have provisions for, well, if you give it to states' rights, because a lot of folks on the right are saying, well, look, he ain't for all of this. He believes if a woman is raped or he should. Well, once you give it to the states, your opinion is irrelevant. You've already made it clear you're going to let the states decide. You're not going to leave it in the hands of the feds. Okay, so if the state decides that a woman that's raped should not get an out, and you're going to let them make the decision, then what you're saying is irrelevant now. You've given them the power to make the decision and made it clear you're not going to interfere. So it's kind of late at this point to say, well, if she's raped or something, then no. You've already said you're not going to interfere with the states. And the states have a different opinion than you. They don't care if she's raped in many states. They don't care about that. And if you're not going to interfere, then who cares what you think now? You let the cat out the bag. And they're doing stuff like that. So I do believe President Trump has realized this is a very unpopular position, and he's constantly had to evolve to amend his statements in response to the unpopular. For instance, what he's saying here would be incredibly unpopular. That he wants to punish people I mean, it's incredibly unpopular. He wouldn't. I can tell you I can tell you with confidence, he would never own up to this. If you asked him his opinions on this, I guarantee it wouldn't involve none. It wouldn't have nothing to do with punishing women. He would not say this anymore. He's evolved from it. But he just like he want to say Joe Biden, vote for me. He's evolved from it. I don't want my kids growing up in a racial jungle. He's evolved from it. Trump is not saying this now, but he did say this, which makes it clear that when he was running for office, this was on his mind. Folks who say, well, now I had a guest on a little while ago saying, well, you can't control the Supreme Court justices. He just put them in and they did that on their own. No, he hadn't appointed anybody at this point. He was already thinking about it. If he's telling this to a journalist, imagine how the interviews went with the Supreme Court justices that he appointed. He's telling the journalist that he wants women punished. So when he got Amy Coney Barrett or Kavanaugh or some of them folks behind the scenes and he's interviewing them, what do you think he's telling them? I mean, so the idea that he didn't appoint these folks and he appointed them, but they just went off on their own. No, this was discussed in the interview for certain. For certain. If he's going to go out and tell somebody on television that he wants women to be punished. That's a horrible thing to say, says dude. What's horrible? What's horrible? If you ban abortion, you should ban guns. Ooh, I don't know where to go with that, but okay. Let me go back to the box. He's clearly evolved on the position because it is so unpopular. I'll just say that. He's realized that he can't keep saying this out loud because it's not going to do well. Nikki loves Target. Good evening. Welcome to the program. Nikki.
Hello. Hi, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, ma'am.
Okay, thanks a lot. Listen to you all the time. I enjoy your show.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So what do you think? This because we talk about in regards to the state. Do you think that it wasn't banned or anything like that? It was just given to the states?
I think that they took women's rights away when they gave it to the states. As soon as it was the decision was held, there were states that it just automatically went to being banned. And then other states did additional banning, like Texas and some other states, I think Iowa. So it's just wrong. Women lost their rights in all those states. And we got to take it back. We got to do a federal mandate to make it legal.
Well, I have a lot of folks, particularly my MAGA side, my MAGA viewers who state that women didn't lose any rights, who say it is not banned. You can still do it in every state.
I don't know what they're thinking. On one day, they had the right, and then on the next day, they did not, depending on where they lived. And it was all because of the Supreme Court decision. So I don't know where they're coming up with that. But women don't have the right. In Texas, they don't. A lot of women have to leave their state. And they just don't want to stop with abortion. Trump gets elected. They want to go further with the morning after pill, with birth control, with everything. It's just ridiculous. It's all about control and regulation and privacy. It's horrible.
You make an interesting point because I heard someone point out that if they want to go after, because to terminate a child, there's certain drugs and things like that. I'm going to plead ignorance. I'm not a woman. I don't know everything, but there's certain drugs and certain devices, to extract what's left. I mean, there are certain tools. Tools, I guess you'd say, or whatever you want to call surgical instruments, whatever. There are certain things that are used, certain drugs, and the administration wants to ban the thing, like I guess you'd say abortion paraphernalia, for lack of a better term. So what people are pointing out is that you can say you're for this when it is in regards to the life of the mother, but if you've already banned the things that's used to do it, and you have a mom that's laying on the table that needs this procedure, but everything they would normally use to implement the procedure is not available, then essentially you're not going to do anything for her. Because, she's laying there dying and everything that you would normally use to help her has all been banned and is not available to the doctors.
Yep, we're going right back to what it was like in the 50s, early 60s before it was legalized. It's a shame. So that is definitely the most important reason why I'm voting for Kamala.
Then how about a more tougher stance? And this is coming from a woman, Tiffany May. Tiffany May in the comments says, if you don't want a baby, then get fixed. How do you respond to folks that say things like keep your legs closed, be responsible, use protection? If you don't want a kid, then take the steps to not have it.
It's just an ignorant response. There's a lot of reasons why women are in that predicament. Yeah. And, you cannot judge or make an assumption as to why a woman's has to get an abortion or wants to make that decision, or a man, why a couple wants to make that decision. There's a lot of reasons. And it's none of their business. So that statement is just ignorant. Yeah.
I gotta say that I'm often amazed. There's a lot of women that are for that. And I generally give a shout out to my female MAGA because everybody said the liberals are going to get all the women vote. There's a lot of women that are in favor of these bans and these limitations being placed. A lot of women are supporting Trump.
Yeah. And then when something happens, they'll be the first ones to cross state lines or fly somewhere where it's legal, flying their kids somewhere. I actually went to college with someone, their parents were strict Catholic. She got pregnant, and what'd they do? Oh, they flew her somewhere, took her somewhere to get an abortion. So it's just hypocrites, all of them.
Wow. And I see in the comments on YouTube, Ed G says, no more baby murders. How horrible. Boo-hoo. There's just not a lot of sympathy for women going through this, man. This is crazy. So you do believe Kamala Harris would likely codify this?
Yeah, I would hope so. I would hope so.
Yeah, do you think?
The other thing too is I hope that with the Supreme Court, who knows what's going to happen with the other justices? They're getting up there in age, and I don't want a Republican, especially Trump, selecting those vacant seats as well. It should be more evened out. I don't want an extreme. It's already extreme. It's already a majority. Yeah. Last thing we want is, it to be even more of a majority. That would just not be fair to representing the rest of the country.
I've said that right now Trump has three of the members on the Supreme Court are from Trump, and Judge Alito and Clarence. Well, Clarence Thomas is 75, and I think Alito is 74, and they're very favorable to Trump. They both really like Trump, so I do believe that if Trump wins, it would be pretty easy to convince them to step down for the good of the party and let him appoint some younger folks. So that would make his number go up to 5. And Sotomayor is 69, and Roberts is also 69. So everybody don't live to be 80. And I think Sotomayor is diabetic and has some health issues herself, and she is a liberal. So it could easily be 7-2 with Trump being responsible for as many as 6 appointees. One man could be responsible for 6 members of the Supreme Court.
That would be horrible. And it wouldn't represent the country. It would be an extreme view for the court, the highest court in the land, making decisions, based on their, political viewpoint. And what about the majority of the country? Remember, the majority of the country are Democrats.
Is it? Is that true? Well, yeah, the popular vote. You're right.
Popular vote, yes.
Yeah.
And that would not be fair.
Now, how do you feel about? And I seen that in the comments from a viewer just a moment ago. I scrolled it so damn fast I couldn't read it, but he said expand the court. Would you favor, if Kamala Harris winning, expanding the Supreme Court to offset how far it is to the right currently?
No. Because that has its disadvantages as well. I see the benefit. I see why bringing it up, but I don't know. I think something, I hope not. But I think, in the next if she wins the next 4 years, chances are she'll replace a few, and I don't think it'll even out. So I don't favor that because that can be a disadvantage as well.
I agree.
Trump, if a Republican gets in, and next thing they make select. I don't know, 6, 7. I just don't like that idea.
Yeah, I do agree. If Kamala Harris wins in November, there is a chance that one of those conservative justices, because you got 2 that's over, one that's 75, one that's 74, and one that is 69. There is a good chance that one of them will be gone at least in the next 4 years. Probably Clarence Thomas being 75 already. It's a chance that he may, but they will hold on as long as they can. like Ruth Bader Ginsburg tried to do, which ruined the Democrats.
Yeah. Although I do like what some folks are suggesting, term limits. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think, having a life term, I think that's just ridiculous. I think there should be term limits.
I not only favor term limits, but I also would favor limiting how many people one man can put on the courts. I mean, if you believe in, that's one reason why they didn't let the president be in power for more than a couple terms, because you don't want the creation of dynasties. If you get one dude that has appointed 7 Supreme Court justices, the chance that they're going to be fair and unbalanced when ruling against his policies is zero. And in the MAGA side that's watching the program, who may favor Trump getting 7 appointees, I get it, but let's just be real. If Obama or Biden or Kamala Harris put 6 or 7 Supreme Court, you would think that is, biased as hell. I mean, one person getting all those picks, you already know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. I don't favor, even though I'm more Democrat, I don't favor Democrat appointing, a majority 7, all 6 or 7 justices either. I think it should be a balance.
Yeah. My opinion would be this: if once one guy, let's say you max it out at 3, the 4th pick goes to Congress or the Senate or something. Just on one man can only have a max of 3 picks on the Supreme Court. If for some reason another one dies while he's in office, then it has to be determined by Congress or something. And I would say the opposing part, like if you're president and Congress leans right, or if you're a right-wing president and Congress leans right, but the Senate is left, then the pick should go to the Senate. You've already put 3 people on there that favors your party. I think that, to me, that should be the max, whether you're left or right.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. I appreciate you coming on. I got to move it on, Nikki.
Yep.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Bye. Thank you. All right, moving on with the program, by the way. And the idea that he could possibly be responsible for as many as up to 7 Supreme Court picks, no chance that could be corrupt, huh? 7? I mean, he has 3 right now. I feel fairly confident that if Trump wins, it'll go to 5. Fairly confident that he would replace Clarence Thomas and Alito. So he would be one man with 5 picks. And then whether Sotomayor or Roberts, because they're both 69, maybe they would both survive Trump's term. Maybe one of them won't. So he could be anywhere between 5. I don't know if the founding fathers would have wanted that. Yeah, Steve. Appreciate the hat mustache. That's a lot for one dude. Ed G says the only reason she's in that predicament is she got fucked. Oh my God. The only reason a woman is in a predicament where she wants to terminate the life of the unborn is because she got screwed. What if it happened against her will, Ed? Because you're right, she did get screwed. That is the reason why she's in that predicament. But what if it happened against her will? That is a very unsympathetic comment. A felon choosing the Supreme Court justices. Damn. Yeah, that's true too. They let him set us up so he can get away with everything. Well, like I said, if he gets 5 to 7 picks, everybody would probably be in sync saying that Supreme Court is in his back pocket. Remember, he gets to interview all these people in private. If I'm interviewing a Supreme Court pick in private, I am going to be trying to see if they agree with most of the things I say. And, certainly in Trump's case, where he already has a bunch of legal issues. Let me see how. Okay, I would have my attorneys interview those Supreme Court picks with me, because I'd have them come up with scenarios of things concerning me that ultimately might be before them to judge on. I don't know for certain, because I'm not an attorney, what they may face. So I make sure I bring my own attorney in, come up with some scenarios, because you see the liberals are trying to hang me. You see the liberals are trying to throw the book at me with all these witch hunts. So I'm going to bring you in as my attorney, and I want you to think of some scenarios that might be beneficial to me, that the demon rats is what they call them that the demon rats is trying to hang me in court, but I'm fighting. I want you to present that to the Supreme Court and see how they would rule on it. See if they would rule in my favor. And those are the people I'm not going to pick any Supreme Court justice that's going maybe or hesitant. I want people that are going to make it clear, sir, what they're doing to you is wrong, and if it ever came to me, I got your back. Them the people I'm going to pick. My guess is that's how the abortion interviews went. Because they did flat out lie about it being predetermined legislation, and they weren't going to do that. They did lie about that in public. But my guess is behind the scenes, with Trump knowing how valuable that would be to the evangelical base, his questioning of them in private probably went something similar to what I said. If I put you on the court and a decision about Roe comes before you, what can I expect to hear from you? Any of them folks get up there and start talking about, well, sir, that's been already determined in the past back in the 60s. You can X them out like Simon Cowell. Okay, thank you. Appreciate you coming in. Until you get somebody that says, yeah, listen, what happened back then should never have taken place. What's going on nowadays with this is a travesty. Women are using it as birth control. It needs to be stopped. It's a sin before God. All right, we'll give you a second call tomorrow. I mean, that's how it goes. That's how it goes. Looking in the comments, they lied to the American people. Yes, that is absolutely true. MAGA support Trump felonies. Dems going to support Kamala's resume. Support felonies? Why don't you say the felonies are bullshit? Why would you support a felony? If you support a felony, then that means you actually believe he committed the crime and you're okay with it. That's wrong. Stay with the witch hunt argument. In regards to saying that the Democrats are going with Kamala's resume is actually pretty good. You just don't, look, if you don't favor the left-wing positions Kamala Harris takes, I understand that. That's a legitimate point. But her resume suggests that she has a law degree. She was a district attorney. Then she got promoted to an attorney general. Then she got promoted to the San Francisco attorney general. These are elected positions, by the way. She actually got elected to these things. So the people are constantly electing her to hire her. Then she left California attorney general and became a U.S. senator for California. Then she became a vice president. That's her resume. That's a hellified resume to be president. You qualify. You don't like her policies. That makes sense. I get it. You don't like that she leans left, but she is qualified. A lot of presidents were either governors, senators, or vice presidents. That's usually the path to becoming a president. Trump being a businessman, that ain't the norm. Usually you're a senator, a governor, or a vice president. She's been two of them already. She's been two of them. She has a resume. Her resume is good. You just don't like what she did when she held the positions of senator and attorney general and all. Fine. But on paper, let's take the R and D away. Republican and Democrat. Let's say, for instance, I just gave you a resume of somebody. Didn't tell you if they were Republican or Democrat. Didn't tell you what state they were in, because California is a liberal state. It just said this person is running for president, and it gave you all of those titles that they held. She's qualified. There's no denying she's qualified. You just don't like the policies of her. Just like some folks are saying, Reagan, governor of California, climbed the ranks, he's qualified, but people don't like the policies of him. It's a difference between their policies and whether they're qualified. Kamala Harris is 100% qualified. Looking in the comments, they say what policies? Well, she leans left. She was the deciding vote for the liberals while she was vice president. If you support Trump, you're not going to like any of those policies. That's what I'm saying, policies. You don't like her policies. You don't like the fact that she leans left. She's talking about codifying Roe v. Wade or codifying abortion. That's a policy. That is you don't like that. Forgiving college tuition. That's a policy. You just don't like it. She has policies. And by the way, as I pointed out, you can't say she has no policies and you're calling her a far left. They're suggesting that Kamala Harris is the most leftist presidential candidate we've ever had. You can't call her that and say she has no policies. That either she's far left or she doesn't have policies. You got to pick one. You can't you're trying to play both sides of the fence. That makes no sense. She has policies and you damn well know she does. You just don't like them. Anyhow, folks, I do appreciate the 137,000 likes. TikTok has been really problematic lately. I just don't know why. Somebody says, Tim, they're ignorant. I don't know if they're, well, I don't want to call anybody ignorant, but I do believe some people are just deliberately being, playing both sides of the fence. You know, I can give you a host of issues and you kind of know where Kamala Harris would fall on it. Certainly with abortion, common sense gun legislation, tuition forgiveness, a minimum wage increase. You kind of know where she would go on that. She's not void of policies. It's pretty clear where she would go on a lot of things. Christianity in schools like they're doing in Oklahoma, you know where she would fall on that. You know, so yeah, the idea that, you know, continuing to give money to the Ukraine, or better yet, weapons. We're not giving them any money, but continuing to assist the Ukraine. You know what her policy is. Her policy is on that. She don't need to tell you that stuff. You already know. Anyway, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Somebody says MAGA forever. Shout out to you. Trump cannot unite Americans. I don't think Trump is trying to unite Americans. See you tomorrow. And the same on YouTube. I appreciate you folks tuning in. Don't want to drop my computer once again, but I will see you folks tomorrow. Calling Trump a convict is not an insult. It's a fact. Yeah, it is a fact. Nobody likes any of her policies. That's why she got 0 votes and they had to. No, that's not true. None of that's true. She got 0. She didn't get any votes. That part is true. But the idea that nobody liked her policies is false. That would be like saying nobody liked Chris Christie's policies. That's why he got 0 votes running against Trump or whatever. They do like the policies. They just like another candidate better than that one. The governor of North Dakota ran for Christie Noem of South Dakota ran. They did terrible going up against Trump. But you like their policies. You just like Trump more. People like the policies of Kamala Harris. They just like they liked Biden more when he was running that time. So yeah, to say that they don't like her policies is false. Bots in Florida changed the laws on how we deal with felons rather. Because Trump, if he becomes president, is going to be able to do a whole lot of things, such as international travel and things like that a typical felon cannot do. So we will need to discuss that. Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Catch you tomorrow.